Chapter 1903. To put it simply, Four Corner City's geographical location was very special, extremely special. There was a huge sacrificial altar in the north, south, east, and west of Four Corner City. Once all four altars were activated, Four Corner City would completely collapse. It was not a big deal for Four Corner City to collapse. At most, they could just leave. However, Four Corner City's special geographical location was revealed at this time. There was a huge teleportation array beneath Four Corner City. The purpose of Four Corner City's construction was to conceal the teleportation array and not let others know. The destination of the teleportation array was the 10,000 Demon Ridge. 10,000 Demon Ridge? Hearing Ning Lu's story, the human demon and Meng Chang'an's expressions became extremely solemn. They had heard some rumors when they were in Alchemy Emperor City. It was said that the source energy of the immortal spirit state was in the 10,000 Demon Ridge. At this time, most of the immortal spirit state experts were probably heading to the 10,000 Demon Ridge. However, how far was the 10,000 Demon Ridge from here? Even an early-stage sage martial artist would need a few days to fly at full speed. It could be said that if not for coming to Four Corner City to rescue the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei, the human demon and the rest would have followed them to the 10,000 Demon Ridge. There was a huge teleportation array beneath Four Corner City, and the destination was the 10,000 Demon Ridge. They might be able to rescue the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei first, then use the teleportation array beneath Four Corner City to head to the 10,000 Demon Ridge. Right. Does he know where the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei are trapped? Taking a deep breath, the human demon asked. The urgent matter at hand was not to discuss how to get to the 10,000 Demon Ridge, but how to rescue the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. The city lord residence of Four Corner City. Ning Lu explained, Perfected Wither Domain is inviting a few perfected masters to discuss how to activate the sacrificial altars around Four Corner City. We have to find a way to sneak into the city lord residence. The human demon and Meng Chang'an looked at each other and said at the same time. They knew very well that brute force was definitely not enough to rescue the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. The best time was when Perfected Wither Domain and the rest discussed how to activate the sacrificial altars, because at that time, the attention of Perfected Wither Domain and the rest would definitely not be on the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. It was not easy to sneak into the City Lord's mansion. After all, there would definitely be many perfected persons in the City Lord's mansion at this time. Under their eyes, the slightest carelessness would be discovered. Zhao Chao. Almost at the same time, human demon and Meng Chang'an shifted their gazes outside the room. The fact that Zhao Chao was able to be the gatekeeper at the city gate meant that he had some ability. If he relied on him, he might be able to successfully sneak into the city lord's mansion. Time continued to pass. In the blink of an eye, evening came. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. In the sky above the city lord residence of Four Corner City, several whooshing sounds were heard. Soon after, several cultivators appeared in the sky and landed in the city lord's residence's discussion hall. At this time, there were two people sitting in the assembly hall. Perfected Wither Domain, Perfected Haning. Although experts would enter the hall from time to time, Perfected Kuyu and Perfected Haning did not even blink. They were from the Heaven's Fortune sect and had the Heaven's Fortune Stone in their hands, so they were naturally very confident. Moreover, they were Earth Immortals in a high-level plane. Most of the martial artists who came were human immortals in a high-level plane. There was no need for them to welcome them. He didn't even know how to put on a show. Swoosh! At this moment, an afterimage swept across the sky and landed in front of the assembly hall in the blink of an eye. Swoosh! Swoosh! After the afterimage appeared, Perfected Kuyu and Perfected Haning were finally moved and opened their eyes. Whoosh! Perfected Kuyu and Perfected Han-ing were not the only ones. After seeing the original appearance of the afterimage, many of the martial artists present immediately stood up with solemn expressions. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that he knew this old man. This old man was none other than the old man who fought with him for the Qilin fruit. Vice Sect Master Mo Chinya of the high-level plane, the Transformation God Sect. I've long heard that Sect Master Mo is in the immortal spirit realm. I didn't believe it at first, but now that I see it, it's indeed true. Perfected Kuyu's expression was solemn. He said in a deep voice, "May I know why Sect Master Mo is here?" In fact, it was no wonder that Perfected Kuyu's expression was solemn. In a high-level plane, he was an earth immortal, and so was Mo Chinya. Moreover, Mo Chinya's cultivation was a level higher than his. He was a mid-stage earth immortal. The gap between an early-stage earth immortal and a mid-stage earth immortal was even greater than the gap between an earth immortal and a human immortal. Although Perfected Kuyu had the divine fortune stone, Mo Chinya was the vice sect master of the transformation god sect. There is no guarantee that he would also have a powerful trump card. Therefore, Perfected Kuyu did not want to have a conflict with Mo Chinya if he could. I'm here for two things. Mo Chinya smiled. First, since you're discussing how to activate the altar and the teleportation formation to the Myriad Demon Ridge, I naturally have to go with you. As for the second, Mo Chinya paused for a moment and then said, I heard that you've captured a black dog and a woman. I want to take them with me. You want to take them with you? Perfected Kuyu and Perfected Haning stood up abruptly and said in a deep voice, We went through a lot of trouble to capture them. You can't just take them with you. There's no room for negotiation. Ha ha ha. Mo Chinya threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then, he said gloomily, I think you've misunderstood. I'm not here to negotiate with you. I must take them with me. Last time, Mo Chinya was forced to display strength beyond the perfect saint realm and was killed by the plane barrier. Fortunately, he had given up his physical body and the Chilan fruit, which allowed him to survive. Recently, the plane barrier had loosened. He had found a way to contact the Transformation God sect in a high-level plane and obtain some pills from them to heal his injuries. After healing his injuries, Mo Chinya's first thought was to find the human demon and Ningyu and get revenge. After investigating, he found that Perfected Kuyu had captured Ningyu's friends. Therefore, he decided to go to Quadrant City and wait for them. At that time, as long as he controlled Ningyu's friends, Ningyu and the human devil wouldn't appear obediently. We're from the Divine Fortune sect, Perfected Kuyu said in a deep voice with a gloomy expression. In a high-level plane, as long as he revealed his identity as a member of the Heaven Secret sect, many forces would give him face. I don't think you understand what I mean. Mo Chinya snorted coldly. Then his figure flashed and rushed toward Perfected Kuyu at an astonishing speed. Damn it! Perfected Kuyu cursed as he looked at Mo Chinya, who was rushing toward him. Then he clenched his right fist and punched. Crack! In the next moment, the two fists collided. An extremely crisp sound rang out, and an afterimage flew out in a straight line. Without a doubt, the figure that was sent flying was not Mo Chinya, but Perfected Kuyu. I'll say it one last time. Hand over that black dog and Lu Wei. Otherwise, no one in this world can save you. Chapter 1904. Everyone, let's go together. As long as we can capture Mo Chinya, I promise everyone here that I will help you calculate for free. Wither Domain shouted while doing his best to resist Mo Chinya's oppressive aura. In the higher planes, the reason why the Heaven Secrets Gate had such a high status was because they knew the Heaven Secrets art. They could seek benefits and avoid harm within a certain range. It could be said that one would have to pay a huge price to hire someone from the Heaven Secrets sect. Now, as long as they could capture Mo Chinya, they could ask Taoist Master Kuyu to perform a divination. No matter how they looked at it, this wasn't a bad deal. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, all the cultivators in the conference hall moved and surrounded Mo Chinya. One person might not dare to take action against Mo Chinya, but with so many people working together, they immediately became bolder. Let me give you a word of advice. You'd better scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Mo Chinya wasn't worried about being surrounded. On the contrary, his aura became even more terrifying. Pucci, Pucci, Pucci. Under the pressure of Mo Chinya's terrifying aura, Some of the cultivators who hadn't reached the half-step human immortal realm spurted out a mouthful of blood and were sent flying. Hiss! Mo Chinya's move caused the surrounding martial artists to suck in a breath of cold air. His aura alone could seriously injure a martial artist at the peak of the Sage realm. His strength was infinitely close to that of a real human immortal. Mo Chinya, do you really want to become enemies with the Heaven's Secret Gate? Seeing that the withered domain Enlightened Master was about to collapse, Han took a step forward. She held onto the Tianji stone with her right hand and stood beside the withered domain Enlightened Master. Chi-Chi. When Mo Chinya's terrifying aura came into contact with the Heaven Fate Stone, a sizzling sound could be heard. For a moment, he couldn't do anything to the Heaven Fate Stone in Han Ying's hand. Rumor has it that every disciple of the Heaven's Fortune sect has a Heaven's Fortune Stone. In the past, I didn't believe it. But now, it seems like I was ignorant. Mo Chinya instantly retracted his aura and stared at the Heavenly Fate Stone in Han Ying's hand with interest. He said, I've changed my mind. I don't want that big black dog in Lu Wei. As long as you hand over the 2 Heavenly Fate Stones, I'll leave immediately. Arrogant, courting death. Mo Chinya's words infuriated Dao Master Ku Yu and Han Ying. Relatively speaking, Mo Chinya's demand for the Dark King and Lu Wei wasn't enough to make them so angry. However, Mo Chinya's desire for the Heaven's Fate Stone made them extremely furious. The Heaven's Secret Gate had a rule that anyone who lost the Heaven's Secret Stone would be sentenced to death. In other words, losing the Tianji Stone was equivalent to losing their lives. Does that mean you guys don't want to hand over the Heaven Fate Stone? Mo Chinya shrugged and said, Humph, if you want the Tianji Stone, that will depend on whether you have the ability or not. Dao Master Ku Yu and Han Ying looked at each other and snorted at the same time, Today either you die or we die. Whoosh, whoosh. While speaking, Taoist Master Ku Yu and Han Ying rushed toward Mo Chinya at a terrifying speed. In their eyes, Mo Chinya might be strong, but neither of them was weak. In the high-level planes, Mo Chinya's cultivation was a small level higher than theirs. However, in the immortal spirit realm, their cultivation was exactly the same. They were both half-step human immortals. Now, it wasn't a competition of cultivation, but the density of the immortal chi in their bodies and the strength of their treasures. Rumble. Taoist Master Ku Yu and Han Ying joined forces to fight Mo Chinya. Their battle had reached the peak of the immortal spirit realm. At the very least, given the current loosening of the planar barrier, the 3 of them could unleash the maximum combat power allowed by the planar barrier. Any more, and the planar barrier would expel them. What should we do? Watching Mo Chinya and Taoist Master Ku Yu's battle, one of the cultivators in the conference hall couldn't help but ask, What else can we do? We only have 2 choices. Another cultivator plopped down on a chair and said, The first choice is to join the battle. As soon as this martial artist finished speaking, everyone shook their heads in unison. Join the battle? What a joke. One had to know that Mo Chinya's battle was already at its peak. With their current strength, it would be difficult for them to even get close to the edge of the battlefield, let alone join the battle. Sigh. Then there's only the second choice. The cultivator who spoke just now sighed and stretched out a finger, saying, Wait. Everyone was puzzled. It's simple. If Taoist Master Ku Yu and Han Ying win, we'll all be happy and can successfully activate the teleportation array to Myriad Demon Ridge. But if Mo Chinya wins, the cultivator didn't finish his sentence. Although he didn't say it, everyone knew very well. If Mo Chinya won, they would die. After all, they were on Taoist Master Ku Yu's side. Mo Chinya would never let them go. If I'm not wrong, one of the 2 parties fighting in the sky is Taoist Master Ku Yu and Han Ying. Outside the City Lord's mansion, Ning Lu stared at the sky with a grave expression. Ning Lu had devoured the old man's memories. And in the old man's memories, there were the faces of perfected Wither Domain and perfected Han Ying. The other one is Mo Chinya. Human Demon's expression was even graver than Ning Lu's. Ever since they parted at the Moling Mountain Range, Human Demon had thought that Mo Chinya had been killed by the planar barrier. Who would have thought that he would meet Mo Chinya here? You know him? Ning Lu was surprised. Yes, he's from a higher plane. He's not weak. Human Demon said solemnly. Let's kill our way in while they're fighting and rescue the Dark Sovereign and Lu Wei. Human Demon wasn't a fool. He really wanted to cause trouble in the sky and seriously injure Mo Chinya and Taoist Master Kuyu. But he knew that this was the best time to save the Dark Sovereign and Lu Wei. Without the protection of Taoist Master Kuyu and Han Ing, all the cultivators in the City Lord's mansion wouldn't be a match for him and Ning Lu. Go! Ning Lu's thoughts were similar to Human Demon's. He stomped on the ground and shot forward. Not good. Someone's attacking. Inside the City Lord's mansion, the meeting hall, although the remaining cultivators couldn't participate in the battle between Mo Chinya and Taoist Master Kuyu, the perception wasn't weak. Almost as soon as Human Devil and Ning Lu rushed out, they noticed something was wrong. Puffed, puffed. However, even if they had discovered some clues, it would be of no use. Human Demon and Ning Lu could easily defeat a half-step human immortal in a one-on-one fight. Therefore, in just a hasty exchange, two peak sage warriors were killed. Where are the Dark Sovereign and Lu Wei locked up? Chapter 1905. I'll talk. Please don't kill me. The pinnacle sage martialist was called Hang Ge. He said shakily, the two of them are locked in the secret chamber of the City Lord Mansion. I can lead the way. Then hurry up and lead the way. The Human Demon kicked Hang Ge's butt and said coldly, if I find out you're up to no good, I'll throw you out to feed the dogs. I wouldn't dare. In order to survive, Hang Ge hurriedly waved her hands and obediently walked towards the secret chamber of the City Lord Manor. Whoosh! After Hang Ge and the Human Demons left, the surviving people in the conference hall heaved a long sigh of relief. The pressure that the Human Demon had exerted on them just now was too great, only slightly weaker than Mo Chinya's. They couldn't help but start to suspect something. What was the background of the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei? Why did so many peerless experts come looking for them in such a short time? The rest of the martialists shook their heads. Since they couldn't figure out, they didn't bother thinking about it. They could only watch as immortals fought. The secret chamber is just ahead. The Dark Emperor and Lu Wei are locked in there. On the other side, Hang Ge pointed at the sealed stone door and said, the withered spiritual master said that anyone who enters the secret chamber without his permission will be killed. I don't dare to go in. You don't dare to go in? Ning Lu glared at Hang Ge and said, if I tell you to go, then go. What's with all this nonsense? Fine. Hang Ge gritted his teeth and slowly walked toward the sealed stone door. As Hang Ge moved forward, he left only his back for Ning Lu and the Human Demon. Activate! In a flash, Hang Ge stomped his right foot on the ground. Crack! In an instant, the ground caved in and a crisp sound came from below. After the crisp sound, a faintly discernible protective barrier protected Hang Ge and the entire secret chamber. Ha ha ha! Hang Ge looked at the Human Demon and Ning Lu, then suddenly raised his head and let out a strange laugh. Looks like Spiritual Master Ku Yu really has a good plan. He knew that you would come to save the Black Dog and Lu Wei, so I was ordered to stay behind and lure you there. Hang Ge's lips curled up, and she said coldly, to tell you the truth, a total of 4 people from the Heaven Secret sect came down this time, and I am perfected Han Ying's disciple, Sun Kemming. I don't care who you are, Kemming. Originally, I wanted to let you live today, but since you're so stubborn, I can only send you to heaven. A cold light shot out of Ning Lu's eyes and suddenly shot towards Hang Ge. Insignificant skill. Hang Ge took out a piece of Tianji stone and threw it into the hole beneath her feet. Buzz! Just as the Tianji stone was thrown into the hole, the array was activated. The activation of the array formation directly caused the originally somewhat illusory protective shield to become solid. More importantly, the protective shield this time trapped Human Devil and Ning Lu inside. Very good, very good. Human Devil and Ning Lu became very calm. Although you've activated the array formation and formed a giant protective shield, you can't pose any threat to us with your current strength. That's right. Hanggu didn't deny it. He shrugged and said, "Indeed, I can't pose any threat to you, but my master perfected Han Ing and perfected Ku Yu can. I'll tell you the truth. My master perfected Han Ing has already calculated everything that happened today. Whether it was Mo Chia's appearance or the two of you, my master already predicted it. Once my master and the others take care of Mo Chia, the rest will be your turn." Hearing Hang Ji's words, Human Devil and Ning Lu's expressions became somewhat cold. They had tried just now, and the protective shield that trapped them was indeed not simple. Even if they used all their strength, they couldn't guarantee that they could break it in a short time. If they couldn't break the protective shield, and if perfected Han Ing and perfected Han Ing really defeated Mo Chinya, they would be in a situation of no return. Clap, clap. Hang didn't care what Human Devil and Ning Lu were thinking. He clapped his hands, and the door to the secret room slowly opened. Inside the secret chamber, a large black dog and a young woman were standing back to back in the same place. Without a doubt, the black dog was the Dark Emperor, and the young woman was Lu Wei. When they saw the door to the secret room open, they instantly turned into a blur and tried to rush out. Bang, bang. The result was obvious. Both of them slammed into the protective shield and were bounced far away. Sigh. It's a pity that Master can't calculate Ning Yu's whereabouts. Otherwise, I would have been able to catch all of you in one fell swoop. Hanggu placed his hands behind his back and sighed softly with a slightly disappointed expression. You want to catch all of us in one fell swoop? However, an indifferent voice rang in Hang Ji's ears as soon as he finished speaking. Hang Ji's hair all over his body stood on end when he heard the voice. He hurriedly turned his head. He saw a thin young man hovering in midair. The blood-red flying sword in the young man's right hand was particularly dazzling. Ningyu. The young man was none other than Ningyu. How is this possible? Hanggu cried out in horror. His perception was very strong, and he was constantly paying attention to the changes in the surrounding void. Who would have thought that under his perception, Ningyu would appear without anyone noticing? It really shocked him. Ningyu. Ha ha ha. The Dark Emperor shouted excitedly when he saw Ning Yu floating in midair. The Dark Emperor suffered all kinds of torture when he was captured by perfected Ku Yu. His hair was cut until he was bald, and his body was covered in wounds. If it weren't for the Dark Emperor's belief that Ning Yu would come to save him, he would have probably died long ago. Ka ka ka. Ningyu looked at the Dark Emperor's miserable state on the ground and clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. Buzz. Ningyu wasn't the only one who was furious. Even the Red Devil was controlling the Red Devil sword, making buzzing sounds. The Red Devil, Ningyu, and the Dark Emperor. The three of them had experienced many life and death situations. They were very close to each other. Ningyu had never been so angry before. He wanted to kill, to start a massacre. The Heaven Secret sect will pay the price for what they did today. Ningyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Soon after, the Yuan Qi in his body surged and poured into the Red Demon sword. Slash! Ningyu gripped the Red Devil sword tightly in his right hand and slashed in the air. Whoosh! The power of Ningyu's slash was extremely terrifying. The void was torn apart as countless terrifying gales gathered together and slashed towards the protective barrier. Master said that this protective barrier can withstand the attack of a true human immortal. I don't believe you can slash it apart. Chapter 1906. Under Hang Ji's horrified and furious gaze, Ningyu's sword gleam collided with the protective barrier. For some reason, the sword gleam did not move an inch after coming into contact with the protective barrier. Ha ha! Seeing this, Hanggu suddenly laughed maniacally. In the process of laughing, Hanggu did not forget to take the time to mock Ningyu. A piece of trash like you wants to break the protective barrier? Maybe in your next life. Hanggu was very excited and in a good mood. In his opinion, as long as Ningyu could not break the protective barrier, their plan today would be perfect. Is that so? Faced with Hang Ji's mockery, Ningyu's lips curled up and he said calmly, "You're celebrating a little too early." I'm celebrating a little too early? I think you've lost your mind. Hanga pointed at his nose and said disdainfully. However, before Hanga could finish his words, his expression changed drastically. Crack, 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 crack. Several crisp sounds rang in his ears like thunder from a clear sky. Hanga froze on the spot when she heard the crisp voice. Crack. Ningyu did not care about Hang Ji's reaction. He wielded the red demon's sword and slashed again. This time, the protective barrier finally could not withstand it and cracked. Swoosh! As soon as the protective barrier cracked, Human Demon and Ning Lu moved quickly and firmly restrained Hanga. Human Demon and Ning Lu would not make the same mistake a second time. Ning Lu stretched out his right hand and suddenly slapped at Hang Ji's head. You can't kill me. My master is perfected haunting. I'm the peerless. Puffed. Hanga could not help but shout as he looked at the palm that was slapping at him. However, how could Ning Lu give Hanga another chance? He slapped down with his right hand, causing Hanga to vomit blood on the spot. Subsequently, a terrifying devouring power surged out from Ning Lu's body, and in practically an instant, Hanga was sucked dry. After devouring Hanga, Ning Lu took a deep breath and slowly said, Enlightened Master Han Ing and Enlightened Master Ku, you already knew that we would come here, so they set up a trap. They wanted to use the protective barrier to trap us first and deal with us after they finished off Mo Chinya. Does that mean Taoist Master Ku Yu and the others are confident in subduing Mo Chinya? Human Demon frowned. Human Demon knew Mo Chinya's strength. Although the God Transformation sect was a small force in a higher plane, this was the immortal spirit realm, and Mo Chinya was the vice sect master of the God Transformation sect. Such a powerful being's strength and trump cards are not weak. It would definitely be difficult for Taoist Withered and Taoist Han Ing to control Mo Chinya. I'm confident, but only 60%, Ning Lu said in a low voice. If I'm not wrong, then their battle has probably reached a critical moment. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go and join in the fun. The human demon's eyes flickered to the side as he charged toward the battlefield in the void. Since the battle between Mo Chinya and Taoist Master Ku, you had reached a critical juncture. There was no better time to go. As the saying went, strike while you're down. The human demon's plan was to wait until both sides were injured and then suddenly attack. That way, not only could he control Mo Chinya, but he could also control Taoist Master Ku Yu and Taoist Han Ing. All right, Ning Lu glanced at Ning Yu before charging into the void. President Ming, please stay behind and take care of the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. I'll be right back. Since Ning Lu and Human Demon had gone, Ning Yu definitely wouldn't stay here alone. He didn't have time to catch up with the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. He hurriedly followed Ning Lu and Human Demon into the distance. Meng Chang'an looked at Ning Yu's back, then at the weak Dark Emperor and Lu Wei. In the end, he chose to stay behind. In truth, Meng Chang'an wanted to help. However, Meng Chang'an was well aware of his own strength. Right now, he was on a different level from Ning Yu and the others. Be it Ning Yu, Ning Lu, or Human Demon, they were all a level higher than him. His strength was only at the peak of the Sage Realm, but Ning Yu and the others were genuine half-step human immortals, or even close to human immortals. Boom! At the same time, the battle between Mo Chinya and Taoist Master Ku Yu had reached its climax. Among them, Mo Chinya's clothes were tattered, and only half of his hair was left. As for Taoist Master Ku Yu and Taoist Han Ing, they weren't any better. Taoist Master Ku Yu's left leg was broken, and his body seemed to have been washed in blood. Taoist Han Ying's left eye was slightly closed. Clearly, he had been blinded by Mo Chinya. You think you can kill me with just the two of you? Mo Chinya hovered in the air and said proudly, I only need to use 80% of my strength to easily kill you. Oof. Who doesn't know how to brag? Taoist Master Ku Yu snorted. We didn't intend to use the Heaven Fate Stone, but since you're seeking death, don't blame us. With that, Taoist Master Ku Yu swallowed the Heaven Fate Stone. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As the Heaven Fate Stone entered his stomach, Taoist Master Ku Yu's aura skyrocketed at a terrifying speed. Half-step human immortal, peak half-step human immortal, early stage human immortal, mid-stage human immortal. Taoist Master Ku Yu was much stronger than his disciple, Bai Chong, in a high-level realm. Therefore, his disciple could only increase his cultivation to mid-stage human immortal, but he could increase it to late-stage human immortal. Rumble. After using the Heaven Fate Stone to increase his cultivation to late-stage human immortal, Taoist Master Ku Yu suddenly stopped. Actually, if he didn't stop, he could even raise perfected Ku Yu's cultivation to the peak of the human immortal stage. But this was the immortal spirit region, and the plane barrier hadn't been broken yet. Taoist Master Ku Yu could clearly feel that when his cultivation reached late-stage human immortal, the plane barrier shook a little, as if it was going to lock onto him. He didn't dare to take the risk, so he quickly stopped the Heaven Fate Stone. Late-stage human immortal. Mo Chinya wasn't the only one who was shocked by Taoist Master Ku Yu's aura. Even Ning Yu and the rest who were hiding in the void had grave expressions on their faces. Late-stage human immortal and mid-stage human immortal were two completely different concepts. It could be said that two mid-stage human immortal martial artists were definitely no match for a late-stage human immortal martial artist. How confident are you? The human demon turned to Ning Yu with a grave expression. Since Taoist Master Ku Yu used the Heaven Fate Stone to increase his cultivation to late-stage human immortal, then Taoist Master Han Ying should be able to do the same. That's right. Even if Taoist Master Ku Yu and Mo Chinya are both injured, we have to get rid of a late-stage human immortal martial artist. Ning Lu nodded in agreement. We might not have been confident before, but now, the corner of Ning Yu's lips curled up slightly. He reached into his robes and took out a stone. The stone wasn't too big, but it was round. Chapter 1907. Heaven Fortune Stone. Ning Lu and the human demon exclaimed at the same time when they saw the stone in Ning Yu's hand. It was obvious that the stone in Ning Yu's hand was a Heaven Fortune Stone. Why do you have a Heaven Fortune Stone too? Asked the human demon after a brief moment of shock. The human demon was well aware of how precious the Heaven Fortune Stone was to the Heaven Fortune sect. Moreover, the Heaven Fortune sect's disciples treated the stone even more than their own children. Stone destroyed, people die. This was a saying that circulated in the Heaven Fortune sect. When Hang Ge was killed, it wasn't that the human demon didn't want to snatch the Heaven Fortune Stone, but that he didn't have a chance. In other words, Hang Ge had already destroyed the Heaven Fortune Stone when Ning Lu started devouring it. I killed Wise Master Wither Domain's disciple, Bai Chong, so his Heaven Fortune Stone naturally fell into my hands. Ning Yu said matter-of-factly. However, Ning Yu's eyes quickly widened. He stared at Ning Lu and said, "It seems like the cultivator you swallowed earlier was also a Heavenly Mystery Gate disciple. Did he not have a Heavenly Mystery Stone on him?" My ass. Ning Lu immediately cursed at the mention of this. He had indeed wanted to snatch Hang Ge's Heaven Fortune Stone, but he hadn't expected Hang Ge to be so stubborn and destroy the stone as soon as he made a move. Tell me in detail, why didn't Bai Chong destroy the Heaven Fortune Stone? Asked the human demon curiously. I killed him after he used the Heaven Fortune Stone and had the Hong Mo devour his primordial spirit. Ning Yu shrugged and then repeated the situation at that time. The human demon fell into deep thought after listening to Ning Yu's story. A moment later, the human demon came to a sudden realization and said, "If you want to snatch the Heaven Fortune Stone from someone in the Heaven Fortune sect, you have to fulfill two conditions. First, you have to use the Heaven Fortune Stone when they use it. Second, you have to defeat them quickly and capture their primordial spirit." Rumble. Just as the human demon finished his analysis, a terrifying clash broke out in the distance. Mo Chinya took out a silver flying sword and started fighting Wise Master Wither Domain. Clearly, Mo Chinya was at an absolute disadvantage in this battle. After all, Tao Master Ku Yu had used the Tianji Stone to boost his cultivation to the advanced worldly immortal stage. Even though Mo Chinya had used a sage-grade flying sword, he still couldn't hurt Tao Master Ku Yu. Stop fooling around. Your Heaven Fortune Stone still has 5 seconds left. Enlightened Master Haining looked around and said to Enlightened Master Withered Domain, "We have to get rid of Mo Chinya quickly. I have a feeling that something is wrong with Hangge." In order to trap Mo Chinya, Perfected Master Haining and Perfected Master had set up a powerful restriction. Fortune Immortal Sect Haining and Yun had set up as God Fortune Stone stopped. Shin Tian Yun had set up. After all, the immortal spirit realm was about to undergo a huge change. Many experts from the higher realms had descended. Even though they had the Tianji stone, it could only be used 3 times. Every time it was used, there would be 1 less. Lu and Heaven Fortune, Lu Fortune clan. The Lu clan had fortune, stone, as in could. A fortune clan was had stone, was had phone had fortune stone. Had spirit was had fortune stone. Don't worry. 5 seconds is enough to trap Mo Chinya. Perfected Master Wither Domain turned around to look at Perfected Master Haining. Then, he charged at Mo Chinya, using his body to block the Holy Sword. Perfected Master Wither Domain decided to use his body to block Mo Chinya's Holy Sword. If this was a higher realm, Perfected Master Wither Domain would not dare to block the Holy Sword with his body. After all, the Holy Sword was powerful enough to injure a peak human immortal. However, this was the Immortal Spirit Sect. Lu and Mo Chinya's combat power was limited. He could not use the Holy Sword to its fullest. How could Perfected Master Wither Domain be afraid? Bang! In the next moment, Perfected Master Wither Domain's fist collided with Mo Chinya's Holy Sword. Nothing earth-shattering happened when the two collided. There was only a crisp sound as the Holy Sword was sent flying by a powerful force. Meanwhile, Mo Chinya spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Swoosh! Swoosh! Perfected Master Wither Domain chased after Mo Chinya, while Perfected Master Haining charged at the Holy Sword. The Holy Sword was very precious. It was rare even in higher realms. Perfected Master Haining would not give it up. However, Enlightened Master Haning was so focused on the Holy Sword that he neglected the human demon in Ning Yu's group hiding in the void. Unfortunately, the Holy Sword flew in the direction where Ning Yu and the rest were. Attack with all your strength. You must kill Perfected Master Haining in 1 strike. Ning Yu's expression turned grave as he looked at the Holy Sword and Perfected Master Haining charging at him. As long as he could get rid of Perfected Master Haining, he could definitely get rid of Perfected Master Withered Domain. Perfected Master Withered Domain should be in a weakened state after using the Divine Fate Stone. He could not use his peak strength. Heaven Prison Fist. The human demon used his strongest move, the Heaven Imprisoning Fist. Go! Ning Lu did not hold back. He took out the dark golden branch in his body and decided to use it to kill Perfected Master Haining. Divine Fate Stone. As for Ning Yu, he took out the Divine Fate Stone he got from Bai Chong and wanted to use it to increase his cultivation. Gotcha, Holy Sword. Perfected Master Han, and clearly did not expect that there would be danger waiting for him in front of him. He grabbed the Holy Sword with an excited expression. With the Holy Sword, Perfected Master Haining's strength would double. Oh no! However, Perfected Master Haining was an expert of the Heaven Secrets sect and was well-versed in the art of Heaven Secrets. Almost as soon as Ning Yu and the others made their move, he reacted. Perfected Master Haining did not think about anything else and immediately used the Divine Fate Stone. Buzz buzz. Perfected Master Haining's strength instantly increased to mid-stage human immortal after the Divine Fate Stone entered his stomach. Moreover, it continued to increase. However, just as Perfected Master Haining's cultivation was about to increase to late-stage human immortal, the 3 terrifying attacks from Ning Yu and the rest had already reached him. He had no choice but to give up on the Divine Fate Stone and fight head-on with Ning Yu and the rest. Ning Yu fought against Perfected Master Haining first. With the boost from the Divine Fate Stone, Ningyu's strength also increased to mid-stage human immortal, and there were signs of him breaking through to late-stage human immortal. Uft. Ningyu launched a sneak attack while perfected master Hanying hurriedly defended himself. The result was obvious. Perfected master Hanying did not dodge Ningyu's attack and vomited blood. Uft. Uft. What made perfected master Hanying angry was yet to come. Following that, Human Demon's heaven-imprisoning fist and Ning Lu's dark golden branch landed on his body at the same time. Perfected master Hanying spat out several mouthfuls of blood and was sent flying. His aura instantly dropped from mid-stage human immortal to perfected sage. Chase. Ningyu and Human Demon would not let perfected master Hanying off. Chapter 1908. Perfected Wither Domain, Save Me. After being hit by a few attacks in succession, not only did Taoist Han Ying's aura fall to rock bottom, a huge wound even appeared on his chest. The attacks from Ningyu and the Human Demon were extremely powerful. If Han Ying hadn't used the Heavenly Fate Stone to negate most of the force, he would have been turned into a meat patty. Even so, perfected Han Ying's current state was at the lowest point in his life. Now, let alone Ningyu and Human Demon, even a random Sage Realm warrior was enough to kill him. Han Ying retreated while asking for help from Perfected Wither Domain. Damn it, Perfected Wither Domain couldn't help but curse when he heard Han Ying's cry for help. The Heavenly Fate Stone's amplification only lasted for 10 seconds. 10 seconds had passed, and Perfected Wither Domain had successfully captured Mo Chinya. His original plan was to plant a restriction in Mo Chinya's mind and interrogate him for some information. But now, Perfected Han Ying's situation had completely disrupted his plans. He and Han Ying were both from the Heaven Secret sect and had descended from a high-level plane together. He had to save Han Ying no matter what. Stay here. After cursing, Perfected Wither Domain waved his hands and set up a small array around Mo Chinya. After all, he had gone through a lot of trouble and even used the Heavenly Fate Stone to capture Mo Chinya. He definitely wouldn't give up. Swoosh! After setting up the small array, Perfected Wither Domain's figure flickered and flew toward Han Ying. This is my chance. Mo Chinya's desolate eyes lit up when he saw Perfected Wither Domain's departure. He thought he was done for, but who would have thought that someone would help him at the critical moment? Who is it? Mo Chinya's eyes shifted to the other side of the battlefield. It's them. Mo Chinya's expression turned ugly when he saw who it was. Ningyu and the Human Demon were his enemies. Last time in the Moling Mountain Range, it was Ningyu and the Human Demon who caused trouble, causing him to trigger the planar barrier and be killed by the planar barrier. The appearance of Ningyu and the Human Devil gave him a chance to escape. I should think of a way to leave this place first. I'll come back for revenge when I'm at my peak. Mo Chinya was no fool. With his current mental state, he was completely unable to join the battle on the other side and seek revenge on Human Demon. The only thing he could do now was to think of a way to leave and then wait for an opportunity to strike. Open. At the thought of this, Mo Chinya waved his hands repeatedly and bombarded the small formations around him. Ka. Under Mo Chinya's incessant bombardment, the small formation around him actually emitted crisp cracking sounds. However, Mo Chinya might have overlooked Wither Domain's formation prowess in his current state. If he was at his peak, he could easily break through the small arrays around him. But now, it was very difficult for him to break the array in a short time. Damn it, I hope Ningyu and the Human Devil can hold on for a while longer. Mo Chinya couldn't help but curse when he saw that he couldn't break the small formations. In his opinion, the battle between Ningyu and Wither Domain was destined to end with Wither Domain's victory. After all, Wither Domain came from the Heaven's Secret sect of a higher plane. His cultivation was also incomparably powerful. Rumble. At the same time, in the distant void, Wither Domain was already fighting with Ningyu and the others. Mo Chinya's thoughts were correct. Wither Domain's people were truly powerful. In terms of pure strength, perfected Master Han Ying couldn't compare to Wither Domain at all. Moreover, when perfected Master Han Ing was sent flying, his right hand had grasped tightly onto the sacred sword. In other words, the sacred sword was in Withered Domain's hands. There was a path to heaven, but you didn't take it. Instead, you barged into hell. With the sacred sword in hand, Withered Domain forced Ningyu and the others back. Today, I'll let you know what true strength is. As soon as he finished speaking, Withered Domain took out a white elixir and tossed it into his mouth. Buzz! As the elixir entered his stomach, Withered Domain's aura soared at a terrifying speed. In the beginning, Withered Domain used the Heaven's Secret Stone to increase his cultivation to the late-stage human immortal realm. After using the Heaven's Secret Stone, Withered Domain's aura also decreased to a certain extent. But after swallowing a white elixir, Withered Domain's aura directly soared to its peak state. Swallow. In the next moment, Withered Domain directly swallowed the Heaven's Secret Stone. Buzz. Buzz. Withered Domain's strength soared again after the Heaven's Secret Stone entered his stomach. Early stage human immortal realm. Mid-stage human immortal realm. Late-stage human immortal realm. This time, Withered Domain's aura instantly soared to the late-stage human immortal realm and continued to soar. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. Withered Domain's aura had soared to the peak of human immortal realm. Moreover, there was a faint halo around Withered Domain's body. That halo was used to resist the immortal spirit realm's plane barrier. You guys can be proud of yourself for forcing me to use my trump card. Feeling the terrifying energy coming from his body, Withered Domain twisted his neck and said coldly, "I won't kill you. I'll only chop off your limbs and refine you into human stick puppets. Ning Lu, think of a way to kill perfected haunting. The human demon and I will stay behind to deal with Withered Domain." At the critical moment, Ningyu did not panic and remained calm. Although Withered Domain was his greatest enemy, perfected Han Ing was not to be underestimated. If he recovered to his peak state, the consequences would be unimaginable. No problem. Ning Lu did not argue with Ningyu. He stomped on the ground and charged towards perfected Han Ing. "Where are you going?" Withered Domain yelled and rushed out to block Ning Lu when he saw Ning Lu charging towards perfected Han Ing. However, before Withered Domain could reach Ning Lu, his path was blocked by Ningyu and the human demon. "Your opponents are us." Ningyu was on the left, and the human demon was on the right. They spoke at the same time. Die! This was the first time Withered Domain felt so angry. He swung the sacred sword in his hand, and several sword rays shot out at Ningyu and the human demon. Heaven Prison Fist. The human demon took a step forward and pulled Ningyu behind him. He then used his trump card, Heaven Prison Fist. Divine Fate Stone. Ningyu circulated the god of war blood in his heart and forced himself to activate the Divine Fate Stone a second time. Withered Domain could activate the Divine Fate Stone twice in a short period of time because he had consumed the white pill. If Ningyu wanted to activate the Divine Fate Stone a second time, he would have to pay the price. Chapter 1909. Chi. Ningyu's aura soared at a terrifying speed as he activated the Heaven Fate Stone for the second time. If Ningyu hadn't used his full strength when he first activated the Heavenly Fate Stone, then this time, he didn't hold back at all and pushed the Heavenly Fate Stone to its limit. His body made a sizzling sound as Ningyu's cultivation rose to the late-stage human immortal realm. Just as Ningyu's cultivation rose to the late-stage human immortal realm, the human demon and perfected Withered Domain's battle came to an end. 3 moves. In just 3 moves, the human demon was defeated by perfected Withered Domain. "I'm so pissed." The human devil felt very aggrieved, and he cried out in frustration. This was the immortal spirit realm, and the human demon did not have any trump cards with him. As a result, he could not unleash the strength of a human immortal like perfected Withered Domain. Otherwise, with the human demon's strength in a high-level realm, killing perfected Withered Domain would be a piece of cake. Crack! After the human demon was defeated, the outcome of the battle on the other side of the battlefield was also decided. Perfected Haniing crushed the Heaven Fate Stone on his body before he died. Boom! The Heaven Fate Stone shattered, and Perfected Haniing's body expanded rapidly before exploding. Fortunately, Ning Lu was prepared in time. Otherwise, the shock wave from Perfected Haniing's explosion would be enough to kill him. But even so, Ning Lu's current state also fell to rock bottom. I want all of you dead. Perfected Withered Domain's eyes widened in anger when he sensed Perfected Haniing's death. Perfected Withered Domain knew that he was responsible for Perfected Haniing's death. Unless he could obtain a large amount of origin energy, he would definitely be punished by the higher-ups of the Heaven Fate sect when he returned to the high-level realm. Your opponent is me. Ningyu appeared in front of Perfected Withered Domain in the blink of an eye and slashed with the red demon sword. Puffed. The terrifying sword radiance charged at Perfected Withered Domain at a terrifying speed. Child's play. Taoist Master Kuyu also waved the sacred sword in his hand and slashed out a sword light. Crack! The two sword lights collided, and a crisp sound rang out. Then, both of them dissipated. You do have some skills. The corners of Perfected Withered Domain's mouth curled up slightly when he saw the sword radiance disappear. He said coldly, "But this time, I can maintain my peak human immortal stage for 3 minutes, while you can only maintain it for about a minute. Let's see how you're going to fight me." Under normal circumstances, the Heaven's Fortune Stone could maintain a boost in cultivation for 10 seconds. However, both Perfected Withered Domain and Ning Yu were using the Heaven Fate Stone for the second time. To them, activating the Tianji Stone for a second time already required a price, so they could increase their cultivation by more than 10 seconds. 1 minute is enough to kill you. Ning Yu brandished the red demon sword in his hand again, unleashing several sword projections. Voila! The overwhelming sword gleams seemed to have eyes of their own as they accurately shot towards Venerable Kuyu. Kill! Facing the oncoming terrifying sword light, Taoist Master Kuyu did not retreat. Instead, he charged forward with the holy sword. Swoosh! As Perfected Withered Domain advanced, he swung the holy sword in his hand continuously. Almost every time he swung the sword, a sword radiance would be shot down. In an instant, Perfected Withered Domain was in front of Ningyu. Die! Perfected Withered Domain threw the holy sword in his hand and stabbed it at Ningyu's heart. Perfected Withered Domain's sword wasn't an ordinary attack, but an attack that contained all the strength he had in his life. It could be said that Perfected Withered Domain's sword could kill a peak human immortal stage martial artist, even in a higher plane. At the critical moment, Ningyu hurriedly dodged to the side and narrowly dodged Perfected Withered Domain's fatal attack. However, even though Ningyu had dodged the fatal attack, he still failed to dodge Perfected Withered Domain's second attack. Whoosh! The holy sword turned around and stabbed into Ningyu's chest. Puffed! Fresh blood spurted out of Ningyu's mouth as his aura plummeted. Swoosh! However, the moment Ningyu was stabbed by the holy sword, Ningyu also threw the red demon sword in his hand. The red demon inside the red demon sword pushed its speed to the limit. Perfected Withered Domain was still in a daze when he controlled the red demon's sword to stab his heart. Puffed. Even though Perfected Withered Domain had used the holy sword to block the attack at the last moment, he still couldn't escape the tragic fate of being stabbed in the heart by the red demon sword. Perfected Withered Domain's eyes were wide open as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with disbelief. His aura was currently at the peak human immortal stage, while Ningyu was only at the late stage human immortal stage. How could Ningyu stab his heart when there was a gap in their cultivation levels? Again, Ningyu didn't intend to give Perfected Withered Domain a chance. He shouted at the red demon. Swoosh! The red demon hid in the red demon's sword and fused with it. The red demon sword swiftly moved, arriving in front of Perfected Withered Domain in an instant and slashed at his head. With his heart pierced, Perfected Withered Domain was only left with his origin spirit. There was no way he could withstand the red demon sword's powerful attack. Perfected Withered Domain's head was chopped off in an instant. The mountains will never change, and the rivers will always flow. We'll meet again in the future. Perfected wither domain's remaining origin spirit hurriedly tore through the void and flew into the distance. Where there's life, there's hope. At this critical moment, perfected wither domain couldn't care less about the lives of others. In the face of disaster, everyone flew away. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to evacuate as soon as possible. He had to do everything possible to evacuate. But how could Ningyu allow him to retreat? Ningyu chased after him, grabbed the red demon's sword, and slashed out another sword ray. Arg, Taoist wither domain let out a blood-curdling screech as his essence spirit was split in half by this terrifying sword beam. Then, the red demon sword left Ningyu's hand and charged a perfected wither domain's origin spirit. You'll die a horrible death for offending the Heaven's Secret sect. Perfected wither domain yelled crazily the moment before his origin spirit was devoured. Noisy, the red demon suddenly rushed out of the red demon's sword, opened his mouth, and swallowed the two halves of perfected wither domain's origin spirit. Buzz. The red demon's aura soared rapidly as the origin spirit entered his stomach. The red demon's cultivation was originally at the peak of the sage realm, and there was a high chance that he could advance to the perfected sage realm after devouring perfected wither domain's origin spirit. Crack! What Ningyu and the red devil didn't know was that in the 1,000-demon ridge of the immortal spirit region, a black shadow suddenly crushed the rock in its hand. If Ningyu and the others were here, they would definitely realize that the stone in the black shadow's hand wasn't an ordinary stone, but a Heaven's Secret stone. Crushing a Heaven's Secret stone casually was enough to show how terrifying the black shadow was. How dare you kill two experts of the Heaven's Secret sect? No matter who you are, I'll capture you and skin you alive. Chapter 1910. In the Myriad Demon Ridge, Ningyu didn't know about the Black Shadow's reaction. At this moment, he was guarding Hong Mo's side, acting as his protector. Hong Mo had devoured two halves of perfected Wither Domain's primordial spirit and was now trying to break through to the Saint Realm. If Hong Mo could successfully break through to the Saint Realm, his strength would improve by leaps and bounds. At the very least, he wouldn't be helpless when facing perfected Withered Domain, completely relying on Ningyu to devour the Divine Fate Stone a second time. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away little by little. In this area, Ningyu was guarding Hong Mo while he tried to break through to the Saint Realm. Ning Lu and Human Demon were sitting cross-legged, trying their best to recuperate. As for Mo Chinya, who was not far away, he was desperately attacking the small formation around him. Mo Chinya was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. When he saw that perfected Wither Domain was killed, he was overjoyed because he thought that he could easily break the small formation and escape from this area. Who would have thought that even though perfected Wither Domain was killed, the small formation he had set up was still extremely powerful? At the very least, with his current ability, it was difficult to break it in a short time. He couldn't break the small formation, and Ningyu and the others were recuperating. The situation was extremely unfavorable for him. I have to think of a way to get the people in the hall to come and help. Mo Chinya rolled his eyes and instantly gave up on attacking the formation. Perfected Wither Domain and Perfected Haining had gathered a lot of people to join forces to activate the Peerless Teleportation Formation hidden under Square City. Both Perfected Wither Domain and Perfected Haining had died in battle, and Ningyu and the others were in an extremely weak state. At this time, as long as those people came to interfere, he could fish in troubled waters and leave this place completely. Mo Chinya wasn't an indecisive person. He immediately activated a secret art and didn't hesitate to burn his essence blood in order to notify everyone in the hall. Come quickly, there's a great opportunity. Mo Chinya's words were very simple, because he knew very well that it was useless no matter how much he said. After saying this, he closed his eyes, sat cross-legged on the ground, and converged his aura into his body. Mo Chinya didn't want to see his weak side when someone came over. After all, he still needed those people to help him break the small array formation. Once those people knew that he was in a weakened state, he would definitely be in deep trouble. Voila! Mo Chinya's words caused all the cultivators in the hall to reveal astonished expressions. Among them, a peak Saint martial artist said in a deep voice, "Did Mo Chinya win? I don't think so." If Mo Chinya won, he wouldn't have said that he had a great fortune. Another warrior shook his head and said, "In my opinion, Taoist Master Ku Yu and Taoist Master Han Ing have won, and Mo Chinya wants us to join hands with him to deal with Taoist Master Ku Yu and Taoist Master Han Ing." Perfected Han Ing. Whoosh! This martial artist's words won everyone's approval. Comparatively speaking, they hoped that perfected Wither Domain and perfected Han Ing would win. Perfected Han Ing and perfected Ku Yu had said that they would bring them to the myriad Demon Ridge to search for fortuitous opportunities. Mo Chinya was the deputy sect master of the God Transformation sect. The God Transformation sect had always been known for being overbearing. Mo Chinya would definitely not bring them along. Then what should we do now? A martial artist asked doubtfully. In my opinion, we can go and see the situation first. If perfected Ku Yu has the upper hand, we'll help him. If Mo Chinya has the upper hand, we'll help him. The martial artist who spoke just now suggested. This martial artist was called Wu Wentian. He was a typical fence-sitter. Then let's not delay. Let's go now. Most of the martial artists agreed with Wu Wentian's suggestion. Therefore, the remaining martial artists all moved and rushed to the battlefield in the void. It was obvious that these people had forgotten how terrifying Human Demon and Ning Lu were. If Hang Ge hadn't lured Human Demon and Ning Lu away, they would have been killed long ago. How could they be where they were now? Let's not talk about this for now. It didn't take long for Wu Wentian and the others to arrive at the edge of the battlefield. Were perfected Wither Domain and the others. Wu Wentian stared at the battlefield in front of him and said in surprise, "Did they activate the teleportation array in advance and head to the myriad Demon Ridge?" Wu Wentian didn't see perfected Ku Yu and perfected Han Ing in his line of sight. However, Wu Wentian didn't think that perfected Han Ing and perfected Han Ing had died in battle. At most, he thought that perfected Han Ing and perfected Han Ing had lied to them and headed to the myriad Demon Ridge alone. A bunch of trash. Mo Chinya stood up abruptly and said coldly in Wu Wentian's ears, "Perfected Han Ing and perfected Han Ing died in my hands. Ning Yu and the others tried to sneak up on me while I was injured, but they were all seriously injured by me." Hearing Mo Chinya's words, Ning Lu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Among Ning Yu and the others, in terms of the degree of injury, the Red Fiend suffered the lightest injury. However, Hong Mo was trying his best to break through to the perfected Sage realm and had no time to argue with Mo Chinya and the others. Ning Lu was different. He wasn't seriously injured, so he laughed out loud after hearing Mo Chinya's shameless words. "What are you laughing at?" Mo Chinya stared at Ning Lu and said coldly, "You've been seriously injured by me. If you don't get treated in time, you might not live past today. You want to attack me?" Ning Lu couldn't be bothered with Mo Chinya. He turned to Wu Wentian and the others and said, "I'm standing right here. If you want to court death, feel free to attack." Ning Lu was well aware of the defensive power of the small array formation around Mo Chinya. It could be said that even Ning Lu couldn't break this small array formation. Otherwise, Ning Lu wouldn't be talking nonsense here. He would have attacked and killed Mo Chinya. To be honest, Ning Lu was a little envious as he watched Hong Mo devour perfected Han Ying's essence spirit. When he killed perfected Han Ing detonated the Heaven Secret Stone along with his body and essence spirit. Since he couldn't devour the essence spirit, Ning Lu's target was naturally Mo Chinya. However, the small array formation around Mo Chinya stopped him. Helpless, Ning Lu could only change his target to Wu Wentian and the others. Wu Wentian hesitated when he saw how confident Ning Lu was. He could tell that Ning Lu was at the great perfection Saint realm, just like him. However, Ning Lu was different from his perfected sage realm. Ning Lu's strength was much higher than his. He was definitely no match for Ning Lu in a one-on-one battle. What do you guys think? Wu Wentian rolled his eyes and asked a few martial artists beside him. We don't have any opinion. The other martial artists hurriedly distanced themselves from Wu Wentian. At this moment, no matter how stupid they were, they could tell that things weren't as Mo Chinya said. Chapter 1911. You're all fence-sitters. Wu Wentian trembled with anger and said fiercely. But soon, Wu Wentian's tone changed, and he said to Ning Lu, I came here mainly to settle accounts with Mo Chinya. Before you came, Mo Chinya attacked me and broke one of my front teeth. I want to get revenge on him now. Swoosh. Wu Wentian's words made everyone's mouths open slightly, and their faces were full of confusion. They had seen shameless people, but they had never seen such a shameless person. You change your face faster than you change your breathing. A second ago, he was standing on the opposite side of Ning Lu, and the next second, he immediately compromised. Very well, I'll stand here and see how you kill Mo Chinya. Ning Lu had seen many fence-sitters like this. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Wu Wentian with interest. As long as you can kill Mo Chinya, I'm willing to accept you as my follower. This Mo Chinya's face became a little ugly. He was just talking big. He definitely wouldn't dare to kill Mo Chinya. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even if Mo Chinya was in a weakened state at this time, he still wouldn't dare to go forward. However, Wu Wentian didn't dare to offend Ning Lu either. With a thought, he waved his hands repeatedly and pushed away the two martial artists beside him. Wu Wentian, you'll die a horrible death. The martial artist pushed away by Wu Wentian was at the late stage of the Saint realm. They were standing closer to Wu Wentian, so they suffered an unexpected disaster. Wu Wentian didn't care how these two martial artists scolded him. What he was concerned about now was whether Mo Chinya still had terrifying strength. It couldn't be better to use two late-stage Saint realm martial artists to test him. Although Wu Wentian was a fence-sitter, his strength wasn't weak. No matter how hard the two late-stage Saint realm martial artists struggled, they couldn't escape the fate of flying toward Mo Chinya. Almost in an instant, they came to Mo Chinya's side. However, when their bodies touched the small formation around Mo Chinya, they made a sizzling sound on the spot and quickly turned into nothingness. Hiss! The sudden change caused Wu Wentian and the others to gasp. Mo Chinya had killed two late-stage sage experts in an instant, and it seemed that he hadn't done anything yet. With a single thought, Wu Wentian hastily rushed toward Mo Chinya. Has Wu Wentian lost his mind? He's still opposing Mo Chinya at this time. Let's not care about him. We should take care of ourselves. That's right. Stay away from Wu Wentian, lest he betrays you. Seeing Wu Wentian rushing towards Mo Chinya, the surrounding martial artists discussed spiritedly. As soon as these cultivators finished their discussion, they opened their mouths again with dumbfounded expressions. Wu Wentian suddenly stopped a few meters away from Mo Chinya and said, Sect Master Mo, I've decided to forsake darkness and join you in dealing with these people. Wu Wentian spoke with a strong sense of righteousness as he wept bitterly like a person who had lost his footing. Mother of Asterisker, this is too shameless. Wu Wentian's actions made everyone sad. Wu Wentian could no longer be considered a fence-sitter. It was best to describe him as a weakling. Fine, go and kill Ningyu for me. Mo Chinya didn't pursue Wu Wentian's previous mistakes. He pointed at Ningyu and said in a deep voice, As long as you can kill Ningyu, I'll forgive what you did just now. Sect Master Mo, I'm only at the peak of the Sage Realm. Isn't it inappropriate for me to kill Ningyu? Wu Wentian hesitated. Mo Chinya didn't answer. Instead, he frowned slightly, and his expression became a little unsightly. I'll do it. I'll definitely kill Ningyu. Mo Chinya's expression caused Wu Wentian's heart to tremble. He hurriedly patted his chest and said, "I can kill trash like Ningyu in one move." As soon as the word kill fell, an afterimage suddenly rushed out of Wu Wentian's body and rushed towards Ningyu at high speed. A clone? Everyone exclaimed when they saw the afterimage that dashed out of Wu Wentian's body. Although Wu Wentian was a strong opponent, they had to admit that he was indeed very strong. Moreover, his cultivation was at the peak of the Sage Realm. He was only one step away from the peak of the Sage Realm. Rumor had it that Wu Wentian's cultivation was at the peak of the human immortal realm. This time, Wu Wentian had descended to the immortal spirit realm to search for the origin energy. He wanted to use the origin energy to break through to the earth immortal realm. "You're courting death." Ning Lu leaped and landed in front of Ningyu. Clenching his right fist, Ning Lu threw a punch at Wu Wentian's clone. Crack! The moment Ning Lu's fist came into contact with Wu Wentian's clone, it was blasted into two halves and shattered on the spot. Uffed! Wu Wentian spat out a mouthful of blood after the clone was blasted into two. His aura dropped rapidly. "Anyone who dares to harm Ningyu is going against me." Ning Lu took a step forward and released a terrifying aura, as he said coldly. Ning Lu was the Tree of World. He was recovering at every moment. Although he still had some injuries, he could already use 80% of his peak strength. Wu Wentian might not be able to do anything to Ning Lu even if he attacked himself, let alone a clone that only had 30% of his strength. "Stop pretending. I know you're not injured." Mo Chinya stared at Wu Wentian. "If you don't use your full strength, don't blame me for..." Mo Chinya's expression changed drastically before he could finish his sentence. As the vice sect leader of a high-level transformed god sect, and someone who had hidden in the immortal spirit realm for a long time, Mo Chinya already had a deep understanding of the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm. He could clearly feel that the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm was loosening. Although he didn't know why the plane barrier was loosening, Mo Chinya knew that in about half an hour, the plane barrier suppression on him would weaken by more than half. At that time, even if he couldn't use the strength of a mid-stage Earth Immortal, it wouldn't be a problem for him to use the strength of an early-stage Earth Immortal. Mo Chinya was confident. When he recovered his strength of an early-stage Earth Immortal, he would only need to move a finger to break the small formation left by spiritual Master Kuyu. "You don't need to kill Ningyu. You just need to stay by my side." Mo Chinya corrected himself. "You really don't want to kill Ningyu?" Wu Wentian said excitedly. Although he didn't know why Mo Chinya was doing this, Wu Wentian was very excited as long as he didn't attack. After all, with his strength, even if he fought Ning Lu with all his strength, he might not win. Now that Mo Chinya said that he just needed to stay by his side, how could he not be excited? Oh no, someone from a high-level plane is destroying the plane barrier. In this area, Mo Chinya wasn't the only one who could feel that the plane barrier was about to weaken. Human Demon. Human Demon came from a high-level plane, and his cultivation was even higher than Mo Chinya's. Chapter 19:12. Ningyu, we have to leave as soon as possible. The Red Devil's expression was solemn as he sent a soul transmission to Ningyu. In another half an hour, the planar barrier will completely loosen. At that time, all the martial artists that descend from the higher planes will have their cultivation restored to near their peak. Swoosh! Hearing the human demon's words, Ningyu opened his eyes. Ningyu was well aware of the consequences of loosening the planar barrier, even without the human demon's reminder. He could use the Heaven Fate Stone to raise his cultivation to the late human immortal stage. After lowering his cultivation to the late human immortal stage, Ningyu was able to fight evenly with a peak human immortal stage expert. Even so, Ningyu didn't dare to let his guard down. First of all, he had already used the Heavenly Fortune Stone twice in a row, and Bai Chong had used it once before. Therefore, he could not use the Heavenly Fortune Stone anymore. He was praying that Hong Mo could find the Heaven Fate Stone after devouring Tao Master Kuyu's primordial spirit. However, Dao Master Kuyu's Heaven Fate Stone had been used twice, so he could only use it once. Moreover, even if he used the Heaven Fate Stone to raise his cultivation to the late human immortal stage, he still wouldn't be able to deal with an Earth immortal stage cultivator. Ningyu knew what the human demon was worried about. Mo Chinya was the vice sect leader of the Transformation God sect in the higher plane, and his cultivation was at the mid-Earth immortal stage. If the plane barrier loosened, Mo Chinya could at least recover to the early Earth immortal stage. To be honest, Ningyu had no chance of winning against an early Earth immortal stage Mo Chinya. Senior human demon, you're also from a higher plane. Can't you deal with Mo Chinya? Ningyu asked. Mo Chinya wasn't the only one from a higher plane. The human demon was also from a higher plane. Moreover, Ningyu knew that the human demon's cultivation was definitely higher than Mo Chinya's. After the plane barrier loosens, I should be able to recover to the mid-Earth immortal stage in an instant. But I can't help you, because as soon as the bit wall loosens, my enemies from the higher planes will descend and kill me. The human demon said in a deep voice, I'm afraid I won't be able to take care of you when the time comes. So, the most important thing now is to leave Four Corner City as soon as possible, and then we'll split up. Ningyu's expression became extremely solemn. He remembered very clearly that the last time he was separated from the human devil was at the Moling Mountain Range. At that time, the human devil wanted to go to the Pill Emperor City to search for something important, so he chose to separate from Ningyu. Now that they had to separate, there was no need to think about it to know that the human demon was in great danger. Is there no other way? Ningyu took a deep breath and asked, There is a way. The human demon thought for a moment, then said, Activate the teleportation formation below Four Corner City in half an hour. We'll use it to head to the Myriad Demon's Ridge. If I'm not mistaken, the experts from the high-level existential planes have already locked onto my position. As soon as the dimensional barrier loosens, they will send people to Four Corner City to deal with me. When the time comes, we'll activate the teleportation formation and leave. We'll be able to avoid them easily. Four Corner City was very far from the Myriad Demon's Ridge. Although the people from the high-level existential planes had a way to lock onto the human devil, it would consume a lot of energy each time. As long as the teleportation formation was activated, the human devil would have a way to avoid being locked onto by those people. Then what are we waiting for? Think of a way to activate the teleportation formation. Ningyu made a prompt decision and decided to activate the formation. There were several things he needed to prepare in order to activate the teleportation formation below Four Corner City. First, evacuate the crowd. Second, activate the altars around the city. Third, when the city collapsed and the underground teleportation formation appeared, he would pour a huge amount of energy into it. Ning Lu, now that Mo Chinya is trapped in a small formation, do you have the confidence to subdue Wu Wentian? Ningyu turned and sent a spiritual message to Ning Lu. One or two people wouldn't be able to accomplish these three tasks at the same time. Ningyu's idea was to let Ning Lu control Wu Wentian, then have the latter and a few other martial artists activate the altars around Four Corner City. As for Ning Lu and Wu Potion's group, they would be responsible for evacuating the crowd. The final task of activating the teleportation formation would require everyone to work together. I'm 100% sure. With that, Ning Lu's figure flashed and rushed toward Wu Wentian. Ning Lu had heard the conversation between Ningyu and the human devil. Controlling Wu Wentian and finding a way to activate the teleportation formation were the most important things. Not good. Wu Wentian thought that Ning Lu wouldn't dare to attack him after relying on Mo Chinya. Unexpectedly, he didn't have long to relax before he found Ning Lu rushing toward him. Wu Wentian felt that he couldn't deal with Ning Lu, so he hurriedly asked Mo Chinya for help. Trash, you and him are both peak Saint Realm cultivators. If you can't even deal with him, you can go die. Mo Chinya didn't decide to help Wu Wentian. On the contrary, he said fiercely, I'll give you half an hour. If you can't control Ning Lu in half an hour, I'll make my move. Mo Chinya's plan was very good. the planar barrier would loosen in half an hour. Once it did, his cultivation would return to the early Earth immortal level. At that time, he wouldn't need to worry about Ning Lu and the others. After all, they were immortal spirit realm natives. Even if the planar barrier loosened, their strength wouldn't increase too much. Damn it, Wu Wentian cursed inwardly when he saw that Mo Chinya wasn't going to help him. Wu Wentian had relied on Mo Chinya so that Mo Chinya could protect him. Now that Mo Chinya wasn't willing to help Ning Lu, Wu Wentian actually wanted to turn to Ning Lu. Bang! However, the thought of relying on Ning Lu had just appeared in Wu Wentian's mind when Ning Lu's fist arrived in front of him. Helpless, Wu Wentian could only clench his right fist and punch. The two fists collided, and a crisp sound rang out. After the blow, Ning Lu stood in place and didn't retreat an inch. On the other hand, Wu Wentian retreated rapidly and only stopped after retreating more than 10 meters. This move was enough to determine who was superior. Again, Ning Lu's task was to control Wu Wentian. After the first move, he immediately dashed out, wanting to use the second move. However, before Ning Lu could reach Wu Wentian hastily shouted, "Stop, stop! I surrender!" Swoosh! Hearing that Wu Wentian had surrendered, Ning Lu stopped in midair with a swoosh. "Stop fighting! I've decided to forsake darkness for light." Wu Wentian patted his chest and said righteously, "I have a grudge against Mo Chinya. The reason why I relied on him just now was to get close to him and find his weakness. Now that I've found his weakness, I naturally want to deal with him with you." Wu Wentian spoke with righteousness. Those who didn't know Wu Wentian would definitely be deceived. It's not impossible to rely on me. How could Ning Lu be deceived by Wu Wentian? He said in a low voice, "Open your mind. Let me leave a wisp of soul force in your mind." Okay. Wu Wentian didn't even think. He closed his eyes and opened his mind. Chapter 19:13. Swoosh. Seeing Wu Wentian's actions, the surrounding cultivators widened their eyes, their faces filled with confusion. They knew that Wu Wentian was a fence-sitter, but they didn't expect him to be so spineless. Grass on a fence. If the wind is strong, it will fall with the wind there. However, Wu Wentian had completely opened up his mind and allowed Ning Lu to do whatever he wanted. It could be said that as long as Ning Lu left some soul force in Wu Wentian's mind, Wu Wentian's life would be completely under Ning Lu's control. Does Wu Wentian have some trump card? The surrounding martialists weren't the only ones who had this thought. Even Ning Lu had the same thought. After all, the battle prowess he had displayed wasn't much stronger than Wu Wentian's. Wu Wentian might have a 10% chance of winning if they fought head-on. Under such circumstances, Wu Wentian opening up his mind for him to control would naturally confuse him. However, despite his confusion, Ning Lu didn't stop moving. His figure moved again, and in a split second, a cold glint shot out from his head. Swoosh! In everyone's opinion, the cold glint that shot out from Ning Lu's head was his soul force. Wu Wentian didn't show any reaction on the surface when he saw Ning Lu splitting a wisp of soul force flying towards him. However, he was laughing sinisterly in his heart. Wu Wentian wasn't a fool. Although he knew that he had a 10% chance of winning if he fought head-on, he wouldn't take the risk. He knew a type of soul art that could use the opponent's soul force to control the opponent's body. Strictly speaking, the soul art that Wu Wentian knew had the same effect as the soul attraction technique that Ning Yu knew. However, the soul art that Wu Wentian knew was more powerful. Once executed, unless the opponent's strength far exceeded his, there was no way to break it. The reason why Wu Wentian had agreed to open up his mind and let Ning Lu's soul force control him was so that he could control Ning Lu. Swoosh! The cold glint that shot out from Ning Lu's head entered Wu Wentian's body in an instant. Counterattack. Wu Wentian immediately unleashed his soul art when he sensed the cold glint entering his body. Wu Wentian had just unleashed his soul technique when Ning Lu spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura plummeted. What? Wu Wentian does indeed have a trump card. I knew it. When Wu Wentian was in the higher planes, he was at the peak of human immortal stage. He was infinitely close to becoming an earthly immortal. How could he not have any trump cards? Ning Lu is still not smart enough. Wrong. It's not that Ning Lu isn't smart. It's that Wu Wentian is too cunning. Wu Wentian enjoyed listening to the discussions of the crowd. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He turned to Ning Yu and the others and said, "You guys are still too inexperienced to fight me." Wu Wentian, aren't you afraid of retribution for your actions? Ning Yu sat cross-legged beside the Red Fiend and said solemnly, "As long as you let go of your mind now, I can let bygones be bygones." Ha ha ha. Upon hearing Ning Yu's words, Wu Wentian threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, he said coldly, "You want me to relax my mind? You've lost your mind." Humph. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. Ning Yu snorted coldly. Then he slammed his hands on the ground, and his body flew into the air. Swoosh! Ning Yu's body drew a trace in midair and charged towards Wu Wentian at a terrifying speed. "Stop! Otherwise, I'll kill Ning Lu." Looking at Ning Yu, who was flying towards him continuously, the corners of Wu Wentian's mouth curled up into an arc. The current Wu Wentian did not care about Ning Yu in the slightest. In his opinion, Ning Yu would not dare to really make a move against him, because Ning Lu's life was in his hands. As long as he activated his soul art and activated Ning Lu's soul force in his body, Ning Yu would definitely hold back for fear of harming the innocent. "As you wish." Ning Yu suddenly stopped in midair. "Come here. Relax your mind and let me control you." Wu Wentian extended his right hand and pointed at Ning Yu. "I want to let you experience what it feels like to be controlled by someone else." "No problem." Ning Yu shrugged, as though everything had nothing to do with him. Moving his feet, Ning Yu walked towards Wu Wentian. Could it be a trap? Wu Wentian felt that something was amiss when he saw that Ning Yu did not resist at all. That was how he promised Ning Lu back then. In the end, he used his soul art to control Ning Lu at the last moment. Judging from Ning Yu's current reaction, he couldn't be thinking of using his soul art to control him, right? The more he thought about it, the more Wu Wentian felt that it was possible. His expression turned cold as he said in a deep voice, "Stay where you are and let that martial artist come over." The person that Wu Wentian pointed at was not the human fiend, but the Red Fiend. That was because Wu Wentian knew that the relationship between the Red Fiend and Ning Yu was definitely better than that of the human fiend. After all, ever since he appeared, Ning Yu had been guarding the Red Fiend. Moreover, the Red Fiend's aura was also growing steadily. Although Wu Wentian was confident that he could still suppress the Red Fiend easily, even if he advanced to the perfected Sage Realm, it was always better to be in less danger. "All right," Ning Yu thought about it, then said, "Wait a moment, I'll go over and let the Red Fiend come over." After saying that, Ning Yu walked towards the Red Fiend step by step. "Stop right there. I mean you stay where you are and let him walk over by himself." Seeing that Ning Yu was moving, Wu Wentian shouted. However, no matter how Wu Wentian shouted, Ning Yu acted as if he didn't hear it and continued walking on his own. "If you dare to take another step forward, I'll kill Ning Lu." In desperation, Wu Wentian could only use Ning Lu as a bargaining chip to threaten Ning Yu. As expected, Ning Yu stopped again. However, this time, Ning Yu just turned his head and said faintly, "If you had threatened me like that just now, it might have been useful. But now I'm sorry it's too late." After saying that, Ning Yu didn't care about Wu Wentian's reaction. Instead, he walked straight to the Red Fiend's side and sat down cross-legged. There were still about 10 minutes before the Red Fiend successfully devoured the primordial spirit of Venerable Kuyu. According to Ning Lu, he had already completed his task of delaying. In the next 10 minutes, he had to devote himself to recovering and protecting the Red Fiend. "I'm going to kill Ning Lu." Wu Wentian was furious. He clenched his fists and immediately used the soul technique, wanting to give Ning Lu a taste of pain. However, before he could use the soul technique, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His entire body was no longer under his control. How is this possible? The sudden change caused Wu Wentian's expression to change drastically as he exclaimed, "Nothing is impossible." Chapter 1914. It's not your soul force. Wu Wentian's eyes widened in disbelief. The reason why Wu Wentian had such an expression was because when Ning Lu's soul power had entered his body, he had checked it carefully. After confirming that it was Ning Lu's soul power that had entered his body, Wu Wentian used a soul technique. Moreover, what made Wu Wentian puzzled was that when he used the soul art, Ning Lu was indeed greatly affected. Logically speaking, unless Ning Lu's cultivation was much higher than his, it was absolutely impossible for him to break his soul technique. I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Ning Lu's figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Wu Wentian. He stretched out his right hand and suddenly slapped Wu Wentian's head. Pucci! This palm of Ning Lu's was extremely heavy, directly causing Wu Wentian to spit out a large mouthful of dark red blood. Don't kill me. I'm willing to open my mind and let you control me. Seeing that Ning Lu was about to kill him, Wu Wentian revealed his fence-sitter nature again. He hurriedly said, "Also, I can help you control these people and make them do your bidding." As he spoke, Wu Wentian pointed at the surrounding martial artists. Wu Wentian's action caused Ning Lu to stop attacking. He frowned and said, "I'll give you 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I hope you can control all of them." "No problem, leave it to me." Wu Wentian patted his chest and immediately rushed out. He began to control the surrounding warriors. Ning Lu wouldn't allow Wu Wentian to do as he pleased. What he wanted was for the people at the scene to be safe and sound. In other words, they still had super strong combat strength. After all, the altars around Four Corner City still needed these people to activate. If Wu Wentian severely injured them, the consequences would be unimaginable. The facts proved that Ning Lu's worries were unnecessary. For a fence-sitter like Wu Wentian, the reason why he would fall with the wind was because there was no powerful force holding him in place. Now that Ning Lu had utilized a secret technique to control Wu Wentian's life was in Ning Lu's hands. Under such circumstances, in order to survive, Wu Wentian naturally wouldn't play any tricks. Wu Wentian was very efficient. From the moment he made his move to the moment he subdued the surrounding martial artists, a total of 2.5 minutes had passed. Very good. Now, all of you are responsible for activating the altars around Four Corner City. After activating the altars, all of you are to return here. Ning Lu continued to instruct. Ning Lu was very satisfied with Wu Wentian spending 2 minutes to control everyone. Even for him, controlling so many people in 2.5 minutes was still quite difficult. Voila! Upon hearing Ning Lu's instructions, Wu Wentian leaped up and flashed towards the altar in the west. Behind Wu Wentian, the group split into 3 groups and charged in 3 different directions. Ha ha ha! I advise you to stop your futile resistance. Seeing that Wu Wentian and the others were going to activate the altars, Mo Qinya, who was trapped in a small formation, threw his head back and laughed. Even if they were lucky enough to activate 4 altars, it's impossible to activate the teleportation formation without enough energy. Noisy. Ning Lu's eyes turned cold. A cold glint shot out from his eyes and bombarded the small formation Mo Qinya was in. Chi-Chi. Although Ning Lu's cold glint could not hurt Mo Qinya in the small formation, it could slow down the speed at which he broke the formation. I can sense that in another 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the restriction of the plane barrier on the high-level martial artists will hit rock bottom. While Ning Lu and Wu Wentian were entangled, the human devil had been paying attention to the changes in the celestial spirit realm's plane barrier. Originally, it would take 30 minutes for the plane barrier to completely loosen. But for some reason, the power of the high-level martial artists bombarding the plane barrier suddenly increased by a lot. The sudden increase in energy directly reduced the time needed for the plane barrier to loosen from 30 minutes to 20 minutes. Of the 20 minutes, 5 minutes had already been wasted. There were only 15 minutes left. In 15 minutes, they needed to activate the altars, evacuate the people in Four Corner City, and open the teleportation formation. The difficulty was extremely high. Earlier, when Ning Lu and Wu Wentian were fighting, he had already instructed Wu Patian and the others to evacuate the people in Four Corner City. Not surprisingly, the people in Four Corner City were most likely already gone. After all, in the face of survival, everything else could be put aside for the time being. I wonder when the Red Devil will complete his advancement. Ning Lu took a deep breath and looked at the Red Devil. Boom! However, before Ning Lu could finish the word advancement, a terrifying aura suddenly rushed out of the Red Devil's body and shot into the sky. My Red Devil! Feeling the aura rushing out of the Red Devil's body, Ning Lu could not help but curse even though he was prepared. In terms of aura alone, the aura displayed by the Red Devil was no weaker than his. Ning Lu knew that the Red Devil was the sword spirit of the Red Devil Sword. The Red Devil Sword was extremely mysterious and could devour flying swords to advance. Now that the Red Devil Sword had advanced to the Sage Stage as the sword spirit of the Red Devil Sword, its strength must not be underestimated. Whoosh! The aura on the Red Devil's body disappeared in a flash and quickly returned to normal. Seeing the Red Devil's current state, Ning Yu's face lit up. Sage Perfected Stage. After devouring the two halves of perfected Wither Domain's primordial spirit, the Red Devil had indeed advanced from the peak of the Sage Stage to the Sage Perfected Stage. However, what surprised Ning Yu the most was not that the Red Devil had advanced to the Sage Perfected Stage, but that the Red Devil's sword had advanced a little again. Perfected Wither Domain also had a sacred sword. The Red Devil devoured perfected Wither Domain's primordial spirit, while the Red Devil's sword devoured perfected Wither Domain's sacred sword. The two of them devoured each other's primordial spirit without interfering with each other. If the Red Devil Sword was considered a low-grade Sage Stage before, then the current Red Devil Sword had advanced to a true mid-grade Sage Stage. Swoosh! In the next moment, the Red Devil Sword left the Red Devil Sword and arrived in front of Ning Yu. Ning Yu stretched out his right hand and suddenly grabbed the Red Devil Sword. Boom! As soon as he held the Red Devil Sword, Ning Yu felt a terrifying energy sweep through his body. At this moment, Ning Yu only felt one thing. When he used the Red Devil Sword, he could even fight against a mid-stage human immortal. Ning Yu's current cultivation was at the peak of the Sage Stage. Without the Red Devil Sword, he could fight against an early-stage human immortal if he used all his other trump cards. However, once he used the Red Devil Sword, his strength would increase exponentially and reach the mid-stage human immortal realm. Mo Chinya. Do you really think that no one can break this small formation? Ning Yu held the mid-grade Sage Stage Red Devil Sword and walked toward Mo Chinya step by step. Chapter 1915. Destroying all techniques with a single strike? I'm afraid you've lost your mind. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Mo Chinya's lips curled into an arc. He said in a cold voice, although that trash, Down Master Ku Yu, died in battle, the formation he left behind can easily withstand a strike from a mid-human immortal. You might not know this, but everyone in the Heavenly Fortune sect is proficient in alchemy, formations, and what? Mo Chinya's mouth was wide open and his face was filled with horror before he could finish a sentence. That was because Mo Chinya saw Ning Yu swing the red demon sword high up in the air. Chi, a sword ray as thick as a person's waist separated from the Red Devil Sword, and charged at Mo Chinya at a terrifying speed. Moreover, the power of the sword ray far exceeded Mo Chinya's expectations. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, and Mo Chinya saw the small formation around him shatter. This is impossible, Mo Chinya exclaimed. He knew better than anyone else that perfected Master Ku Yu was very skilled in formations in the Heavenly Fortune sect. If perfected Master Ku Yu didn't die in battle, the small formation he left behind would be enough to withstand an attack from a peak human immortal. Even if perfected Master Ku Yu died in battle, the small formation he left behind would still be able to withstand an attack from a mid-stage human immortal. However, Ningyu, a warrior at the peak of the Sage Realm, had managed to cut open such a terrifying defensive formation with one strike. How could Emo Chinya not be shocked? Run. However, Emo Chinya hurriedly used a secret technique to tear open the void and flee into the distance the moment the small formation was broken. The mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. We will meet again. Emo Chinya didn't forget to look back at Ningyu as he fled. Do you think you can escape? Ningyu seemed to have anticipated that Emo Chinya would try to escape. He waved the red demon's sword in his hand again, and in an instant, another 3 sword rays swept out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 sword rays were extremely fast. Their target was Emo Chinya, who was hiding in the void. Rumble. The 3 sword beams drilled into the void together. In an instant, the void was torn apart, and countless Yuan Qi collapsed. Pucci. Then, a figure fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. Emo Chinya spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. At this moment, Emo Chinya's aura had fallen to the freezing point. Emo Chinya's aura was already extremely weak after being trapped in the small formation. Now he was struck by the 3 cold beams from Ningyu, causing him to fall into an extremely weak state. You forced me to do this. Emo Chinya clenched his fists and produced a jade bottle. It could be seen that the jade bottle contained a few blue elixirs. Emo Chinya didn't care about the consequences and simply threw the bottle into his mouth. Ka ka ka. The moment the jade bottle entered his stomach, Emo Chinya chewed continuously and swallowed it before long. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Emo Chinya's aura returned to its peak state. Moreover, Emo Chinya's aura didn't stop because of this. On the contrary, it continued to rise. Kill. How could Ningyu allow Emo Chinya's aura to continue rising? When Emo Chinya's aura reached the intermediate human immortal stage, Ningyu charged out with the red demon sword in hand. For Ningyu, Emo Chinya's intermediate human immortal stage cultivation was enough. The altar has been activated. As soon as Ningyu and Emo Chinya clashed, Wu Wentian led the crowd back from the altars around Four Corner City. The crowd has been evacuated. Apart from Wu Wentian's group, Wu Patian, War Divine Crane, and the others had also arrived in this area. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As for Meng Chang'an, the Dark Emperor, and Lu Wei, they followed closely behind and landed beside Ning Lu. This is a trap. The sudden change caused Emo Chinya's expression to darken to the extreme. In fact, when he was swallowing the elixirs, Ningyu had the opportunity to attack him, but he didn't. At that time, he thought that Ningyu had made a fatal mistake. Now it seemed that it was wishful thinking on his part. The altar was opened, and the crowd was evacuated. Ningyu's ambition could be seen at a glance. He said that it would be difficult to activate the teleportation array with the strength of Ningyu and the others because it required a huge amount of energy. He didn't expect that Ningyu would use what he had learned and use him as a sacrifice to activate the teleportation array. You want to scheme against me? Let's see if you have the ability. After figuring out the reason, Emo Chinya took a deep breath and the Yuan Qi in his body surged. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at Ningyu's head. Under normal circumstances, Ningyu would definitely not be Emo Chinya's match. After all, Emo Chinya came from a higher plane and had a cultivation of intermediate human immortal stage. However, Ningyu had the red demon sword, a sage mid-grade red demon sword. One had to know that the sacred swords used by perfected Wither Domain and perfected Haining were only low-grade sage swords. The power of a sage low-grade flying sword was already so terrifying. One could imagine how powerful a sage mid-grade flying sword would be. Although Ningyu couldn't kill Emo Chinya with a red demon sword, it wasn't too difficult for him to contend with Emo Chinya. Everyone, let's work harder and make the teleportation array appear as soon as possible. Human Demon knew that time was limited. Not to mention how long Ningyu could resist Emo Chinya, Just the fact that the enemies from the higher planes had already noticed him was enough to make him nervous. Under such circumstances, he could only pray that the teleportation array would appear as soon as possible and then use Emo Chinya to activate it. Rumble. Under Human Demon's command, Wu Wentian, Wu Patian, War Divine Crane, and the others exerted their full strength and bombarded the ground. As they continued to bombard the ground, the city suddenly caved in. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. At this moment, a huge pillar of light suddenly shot out from the sacrificial altars around Four Corner City. 4 sacrificial altars and 4 pillars of light converged at the center of Four Corner City. Rumble. The speed at which Four Corner City was collapsing was already very fast. With the addition of the 4 pillars of light, the entire city collapsed. Shortly after, the transportation array beneath the Four Corner City was completely revealed. This, Wu Wentian and the others opened their mouths slightly when they saw the teleportation array that shot out from under Four Corner City. Was this a teleportation array? To be precise, it was a huge cauldron that shot out from under Four Corner City. It was obvious that this cauldron was an alchemy cauldron. This cauldron, looking at the cauldron that flew out from under the ground, Ningyu, who was fighting fiercely with Emo, Chinya, and Madare, narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, its quality far exceeds my heavenly fire cauldron. If I'm not wrong, it should be a cauldron from a higher plane and ranked on the immortal ranking of cauldrons. Immortal spirit realm and demon spirit realm cauldrons from these lower planes could only be ranked on the immortal ranking of cauldrons. But the cauldrons from the higher planes could be ranked on the immortal ranking of cauldrons. Chapter 1916. This is the Five Fingers Cauldron. Ningyu wasn't the only one who was shocked to see the cauldron emerging from the ground of Square City. Emo Chinya was extremely shocked as well. Emo Chinya was a martial artist who descended from a high-level plane, so he had some understanding of the cauldron immortal ranking. There was a rumor in the high-level plane that a long time ago, the Five Fingers Immortal disappeared with the Five Fingers Cauldron. Later, someone spread the news that the Five Fingers Immortal had brought the Five Fingers Cauldron to the Immortal Spirit region in search of a great opportunity. When Emo Chinya first heard the news, he snorted disdainfully and thought that it was impossible. After all, the Five Fingers Immortal was not an Earth Immortal, but a genuine Heaven Immortal. In a high-level plane, an Earth Immortal was the overlord of a region. A Heaven Immortal, on the other hand, was the ruler of many cities and millions of races. The territory of the Transformation God sect was ruled by a Heaven Immortal. The strongest expert in the deity transformation sect was only at the late stage of the Earth Immortal realm. There was still a long way to go before he reached the peak of the Earth Immortal realm, let alone the Celestial Immortal, who was higher than the Earth Immortal realm. The Five Fingers Cauldron is here. Could it be that the Five Fingers Immortal was killed? Emo Chinya suddenly thought of something and asked in surprise. Many people in the high-level plane knew that the Five Fingers Immortal was proud of the Five Fingers Cauldron. To the Five Fingers Immortal, the cauldron was more important than his own life. How could Emo Chinya not be surprised that the Five-Fingered Cauldron was here and the Five-Fingered Immortal was nowhere to be found? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Emo Chinya was pondering, several terrifying suction forces suddenly emerged from the Five Fingers Cauldron. These terrifying suction forces seemed to have eyes of their own. In an instant, they reached Wu Wentian and the others. Puff, puff, puff. In just a few seconds, the martial artists behind Wu Wentian were sucked dry. What the hell is this? As for Wu Wentian, due to his own strength and the fact that he had a trump card, he was not immediately sucked dry. However, judging from Wu Wentian's condition, it was only a matter of time before he was sucked dry. Everyone gathered together. At this time, Ningyu no longer cared about fighting Emo Chinya. He slashed open the suction force in front of him and flew toward the human devil. On the other hand, Wu Patian, Battle God Crane, and the others executed their secret arts to repel the suction and landed beside the human demon. Everyone, send out all your yuan qi and form a protective barrier around your body. Ningyu made a prompt decision and channeled all the essence qi in his body out, forming a protective essence qi barrier around his body. The human demon, Ninglu, and the others followed suit. A yuan qi protective barrier set up by one person might be very weak. However, if it was set up by 2 or 3 people, its power would naturally be much greater. Under the concerted efforts of Ningyu and the others, the suction force from the 5-fingered pill furnace actually stopped in midair for a moment, unable to move an inch forward. "Let me in." Seeing that Ningyu's method was effective, Wu Wentian shouted on the spot. Previously, Wu Wentian was worried that Ningyu's method would not work, so he had been struggling alone. Now that he saw that Ningyu's method was effective, he naturally wanted to take refuge in it. How troublesome! Ningyu did not want to help Wu Wentian at first, but considering that Wu Wentian's strength was not weak, if the planar barrier was loosened, he would at least have the battle strength of a late-stage human immortal. Therefore, he made an exception and opened the yuan qi barrier to let Wu Wentian in. Thank you. After entering the yuan qi barrier, Wu Wentian hurriedly cupped his hands toward Ningyu and thanked him. Even now, Wu Wentian still felt a little scared. But at the same time, Wu Wentian felt a little lucky. Fortunately, he had sided with Ninglu and not Mo Qinya. Otherwise, the suction from the 5-finger pill furnace would have definitely sucked him dry. On the other side, the yuan qi barrier around Mo Qinya's body was already showing signs of cracking. Crack, crack, crack. Crisp sounds lingered in the ears. If this continued, it would not be long before Mo Qinya was sucked dry. Save me. After another 3 minutes, Mo Qinya had no choice but to beg Ningyu and the others for help. As long as you save me, I am willing to open my mind and let you control me. Now you want to let us control you? Ningyu looked coldly at Mo Qinya and said in an awe-inspiring tone, "If you had surrendered before, perhaps I might have considered it. But now, you can go to hell. You can't do this to me." Mo Qinya shouted, "I am an earth immortal. In another 7 minutes, the planar barrier will be loosened, and once it is loosened, I will be able to exert the battle strength of an early-stage earth immortal. At that time, I will be able to resist the terrifying suction from the 5-fingered pill furnace by myself." Terrifying suction. You'd better save your strength. Obviously, Ningyu did not care about Mo Qinya's plea for mercy. People like Mo Qinya were actually more opportunistic than Wu Wentian. Mo Qinya was originally the vice sect leader of a high-level plane, the Transformation Sect. He gave up his position and came to the Immortal Spirit region a long time ago, which showed that he was very patient. Ningyu did not want to save an ingrate. Moreover, controlling Mo Qinya was much more difficult than controlling Wu Wentian. "You can't give up on me." Mo Qinya did not want to give up. He was still shouting, "In 7 minutes, the planar barrier will be loosened, and then many experts will descend from the high-level planes. I won't hide anything. They will descend right here in Four Corner City." Seeing that Ningyu was unmoved, Mo Qinya pointed at the 5-fingered pill furnace and continued. "This pill furnace is called the 5-fingered pill furnace. It is the pill furnace of the 5-fingered immortal. In a high-level plane, the 5-fingered immortal was a terrifying expert who ruled over a territory. If I'm not mistaken, among the experts that descend from the high-level planes this time, there must be a disciple of the 5-fingered immortal. The 5-fingered immortal has a total of 5 disciples. The lowest cultivation level is at the mid-stage of the Earth Immortal, and the highest is at the peak of the Earth Immortal. There are even rumors that the cultivation of the 5-fingered immortal's eldest disciple is infinitely close to the Heaven Immortal level." Mo Qinya was like a beeping machine. Even though Ningyu did not answer him, he still kept talking. This was because Mo Qinya knew very well that if Ningyu did not help him, he would die without a doubt. Even if he had some trump cards, it would be of no use. The trump cards he had were aimed at the origin energy, not the terrifying suction force. Moreover, the 5-fingered immortal was a Heaven Immortal expert. How could the power of the pill furnace he used be weak? Do you really want us to save you? Mo Chinya continued to blabber for another 3 minutes. When he was about to collapse, Ning Yu finally asked. Upon hearing Ning Yu's words, Mo Chinya felt as if he had heard the sound of nature. He hurriedly said, "Yes, as long as you are willing to save me. I can open my mind and let you control me." Chapter 1917. Wu Wentian's expression was unsightly. He very much wanted to taunt Mo Chinya, but he was afraid that Ningyu would really help Mo Chinya. Therefore, he could only keep his face ashen. "Open your mind and let me control you." Ningyu thought for a moment, then said, "I must first control you, then I will let you in." "Okay," Mo Chinya replied almost without hesitation. With that, Mo Chinya immediately opened his mind, leaving only a bit of Yuan Qi to bitterly resist the terrifying suction from the cauldron. Crack, 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 crack. After Mo Chinya opened his mind, the terrifying suction from the cauldron instantly gained the upper hand. In this kind of situation, every second of delay would greatly threaten Mo Chinya's life. Ning Lu, senior human demon. Ningyu wasn't stupid enough to release his soul force to control Mo Chinya. He asked Ning Lu and human demon spiritually, "If the three of us work together, how confident are we in controlling Mo Chinya?" "Absolutely impossible," Ning Lu and human demon answered at the same time. Mo Chinya was a wily old fox, far more so than Wu Wentian. The same method could fool Wu Wentian, but it wouldn't work on Mo Chinya. "I understand." Hearing Ning Lu and human demon's words, Ningyu nodded lightly. Then, a wisp of soul force swept out his body and flew straight toward Mo Chinya. "Mo Chinya, I hope you won't play any tricks." After the soul force flew out, Ningyu stared at Mo Chinya and said in a low voice, "Since I dared to send my soul force into your body, I'm confident I can subdue you. I definitely won't play any tricks." Mo Chinya hurriedly expressed his loyalty. Crack, crack. Just as Mo Chinya was expressing his loyalty, the Yuan Qi barrier around his body emitted another crisp sound. At this rate, it would only take 10 seconds at most for Mo Chinya's Yuan Qi barrier to be broken. At that time, if Mo Chinya couldn't find a place of refuge, he would surely be in grave danger. Mo Chinya seemed to have given up resisting. Ningyu's soul power didn't encounter any obstruction and smoothly entered Mo Chinya's body. Is it really no problem? Ningyu controlled his soul power to search Mo Chinya's body for a while, but didn't find anything wrong. He was a little puzzled. However, Ningyu still chose to believe in Ning Lu and human demon. He waved his hand at Mo Chinya and said, "Come here quickly. I'll break the energy barrier as soon as you come to my side." "All right," Mo Chinya responded. Then his figure flashed and charged straight at Ningyu. Kacha! Just as Mo Chinya rushed out, the Yuan Qi barrier around him suddenly shattered. A terrifying suction force followed Mo Chinya like a shadow. He couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard he tried. Quickly opened the Yuan Qi protective barrier. In just 3 seconds, Mo Chinya arrived in front of Ningyu and the others and shouted at the same time. Mo Chinya was very anxious. He could only hold on for 10 seconds, and 3 seconds had already passed. If he couldn't enter the Yuan Qi protective barrier within 7 seconds, he would have to use a big move in advance. "As you wish." Ningyu first signaled the people around him with his eyes, took a few steps back, and then opened the Yuan Qi protective barrier. Swoosh! The moment Ningyu opened the Yuan Qi protective barrier, Mo Chinya instantly rushed in. Phew! As soon as he rushed in, Mo Chinya let out a long sigh of relief, his brows revealing an excited expression. Ha ha ha! Mo Chinya was so excited that he threw his head back and laughed. After laughing, Mo Chinya narrowed his eyes and stared at Ningyu. "Thank you for your Yuan Qi protective barrier. Now let me control it." The next moment, Mo Chinya flicked his sleeve and a black bead suddenly flew out. Chi-Chi, an extremely terrifying, devouring power, suddenly erupted from the black bead. Relatively speaking, although the devouring power within the black bead was slightly weaker than the suction from the five-fingered pill cauldron, it wasn't much weaker. At the very least, under the devouring power of the black bead, the surrounding yuan qi rushed toward him with it as the center. Attack! Ningyu wouldn't choose to sit still and wait for death. He signaled Ning Lu and human demon with his eyes, then immediately grasped the red demon sword and was the first to rush forward. Swish! Swish! Ning Lu and human demon followed closely behind. Their target wasn't Mo Chinya, but the black bead. Ningyu clearly knew that he couldn't control Mo Chinya, but he still insisted that Mo Chinya enter the Yuan Qi protective barrier in order to seize Mo Chinya's trump card. After all, Mo Chinya came from higher plane, and it was impossible that he didn't have any trump cards. As expected, Ningyu's gamble was correct. The black bead that Mo Chinya took out had a very strong devouring power, and Ningyu faintly sensed a familiar aura from it. Power of origin. That's right, the black bead definitely contained power of origin. You want to seize my origin bead? Mo Chinya didn't take Ningyu and human demons charge to heart at all. The corner of his mouth even curled up, and he pointed at the five-fingered pill cauldron. You'd better pray for yourselves. You're the one who should pray for yourselves. Ningyu's expression was solemn as he suddenly slashed with the red demon sword. Heaven imprisoning fist. Dark gold branch. Ning Lu and human demon both used their trump cards. Under the three terrifying attacks, the black bead actually shook a little. Oof. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Mo Chinya snorted coldly, then said, I'll move your Yuan Qi protective barrier to my side and expose you to the five-fingered pill cauldron. Puffed. However, Mo Chinya had only spoken halfway when he felt a sweetness in his throat and dark red blood sprayed out. How is this possible? Mo Chinya's expression changed drastically. He never would have thought that Ningyu would move the Yuan Qi protective barrier one step ahead of him. In other words, he was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, replacing Ningyu's group to block the cauldron's attack. Block it for me. In the face of extreme danger, Mo Chinya could only take out a pill from his chest pocket and toss it into his mouth. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, Mo Chinya's aura instantly recovered to its peak state. However, even if Mo Chinya recovered to his peak state, it wouldn't help. Because only one of the suction forces had attacked him before, now all of them were focused on him, blocking the entire cauldron with his own strength. Obviously, Mo Chinya couldn't do it. Come here. While Mo Chinya was struggling to resist the numerous suction forces, Ningyu's right hand grabbed at the void and instantly grabbed the black bead. Immediately afterward, Ningyu, Ning Lu, human demon, and even the red demon and Wu Potions group all helped remove the imprints from the black bead. Chapter 1918. It really is the power of origin. After erasing the mark left by Mo Chinya in the black bead, Ningyu immediately sent his soul power into the bead to explore. As soon as his soul power entered the black bead, Ningyu's face lit up with joy. This was because he sensed the aura of the power of origin in the black bead. Although the power of origin in the black bead was not much and could even be described as very little, what made Ningyu excited was not the amount of power of origin in the black bead, but the black bead itself. To be precise, the black bead had an extremely terrifying suction force on the power of origin. If there were two containers containing the power of origin, one container would be the black bead and the other a special jade bottle. There was no doubt that as long as the special jade bottle was near the black bead, the power of origin in it would be absorbed by the black bead. It really is a good treasure. Ningyu accepted the black bead, indicating that his effort this time was not in vain. He had spent a lot of time and effort scheming against Mo Chinya. If he did not get the black bead, he would probably cry to death. As soon as Ningyu put away the black bead, Mo Chinya, who was not far away, spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura dropped again. Ningyu, You will die a horrible death. Mo Chinya knew that even if he begged Ningyu again, Ningyu would not help him. His fate was already decided. Therefore, in desperation, he could only roar at Ningyu. I just got the news that the divine son of our transformation sect has come to the celestial spirit realm. You will die a miserable death in front of the divine son of our transformation sect. Even a deputy sect master like you is only at the intermediate stage of the earth immortal realm. I guess that divine son is at most a human immortal. I can easily kill a human immortal realm divine son. Hearing Mo Chinya's words, Ningyu shrugged and said faintly, "Don't worry. When I get the power of origin in the celestial spirit realm, I will immediately go to a higher plane. The first thing I will do after going there is to eradicate the transformation sect." Ha ha ha. You're overestimating yourself. You'll never know how powerful the godchild of the God transformation sect is. To tell you the truth, the godchild of our God transformation sect has been sealed with a special substance for 10,000 years. When he comes out of seclusion, puffed, Mo Chinya threw his head back and laughed wildly. Just as he was about to introduce Ningyu to the divine son of the God transformation sect, his defense was broken through by a terrifying suction force. He spat out a mouthful of dark red blood on the spot, and his entire body immediately shriveled up. Under the terrifying suction force from the five-finger cauldron, Mo Chinya was only able to resist for a few minutes before he was sucked dry. Gotcha! Mo Chinya had just been sucked dry. Before Ningyu and the others could react, a clear voice rang in their ears. Following this, the rift exploded as a few figures appeared from it. Buzz. The target of Ningyu's group wasn't the expert that appeared out of thin air, but the human devil and Wu Wentian. Wu Wentian and the human devil were both from higher planes. Now that the plane barrier had been loosened, their strength had instantly increased. Among them, Wu Wentian had directly soared from the peak of the sage realm to the late stage of the human immortal realm. He was only a step away from the peak of the human immortal realm. It was obvious that Wu Wentian would definitely recover to the peak of the human immortal realm once the last bit of the plane barrier was broken. Boom! Comparatively speaking, the aura emitted by the human devil was a little terrifying. Mid-stage Earth immortal realm. The aura of the human devil had now reached the mid-stage Earth immortal realm. "You're really here!" A loud shout soon attracted the attention of Ningyu and the others. Looking towards the source of the voice, they saw a group of 4 martial artists floating around them. Late-stage Earth immortal realm. Sensing the terrifying aura emitted by these 4 martial artists, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. Although the human devil had recovered to the mid-stage Earth immortal realm, the 4 people chasing after them were all at the late-stage Earth immortal realm. How could they fight such a lineup? I thought some expert would descend. Who would have thought that it's just a few small shrimps? Although he was shocked, the human devil still looked very calm on the surface. "You should know very well that I can even kill a heaven immortal, let alone late-stage Earth immortal realm martial artists like you. You can indeed kill a heaven immortal, but that's in a high-level plane, and that's when you're at your peak." An old man with a hooked nose and dressed in gray robes who looked to be in his 60s or 70s said sinisterly, "This is the immortal spirit realm, and you've been severely injured in the past, causing your strength to drop a lot. The 4 of us are enough to deal with you. Why are you wasting time with him? Let's attack together. That's right. Let's get rid of the human devil first, then take the 5-finger immortal's 5-finger cauldron. Finally, we'll head to the 1,000 Demons Ridge to fight for the origin energy. With the strength of the 4 of us, as long as we work together, it shouldn't be difficult for us to dominate the immortal realm." As soon as the hooked-nosed old man finished speaking, the remaining 3 martial artists started discussing among themselves. Their thoughts were strangely in sync. First kill the human devil, then take the 5-finger pill cauldron, and finally go to the 1,000 Demons Ridge to steal the source energy. The idea was good, but it was a little difficult to put into practice. The hooked-nosed old man looked at the 5-finger pill cauldron, then at the human devil and the rest. 2 of you kill the human devil, and the other 2 take the 5-finger pill cauldron. Swoosh, swoosh. The hooked-nosed old man did not hesitate. He immediately dashed out with a bald man beside him, rushing towards the demonic humans. Swoosh, swoosh. As for the other 2 martial artists, they all rushed towards the 5-finger pill cauldron. I'll block them. You guys go first. Looking at the hooked-nosed old man and the bald man rushing towards him, the human devil took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Remember, don't think about avenging me in the future." The human devil had already made up his mind to die. He was indeed seriously injured. Although the energy seal in his body had been removed, there were still a few other injuries. Otherwise, he definitely would not have escaped to the immortal realm. When he was in the higher planes, he fought against the celestial immortals of several territories by himself. In the end, he killed 1 celestial immortal and severely injured 3 others. Then, with his body covered in wounds, he used a secret technique to escape to the celestial spirit realm. The strength of a celestial immortal was unfathomable. The human devil admitted that Ningyu was very talented, but throughout history, there had been many talented martial artists. Only 1 in 10,000 could cultivate to the celestial immortal realm, or even 1 in 100,000, or even 1 in 1,000,000. As for what cultivation level Ningyu could reach, the human devil did not know. But the human devil knew that he could not allow Ningyu to avenge him. Let them go first. The hooked-nosed old man's lips curled up, and he laughed. I think you've lost your mind. Under the encirclement of the 2 of us, none of you will leave today. All of you will die. Chapter 1919. If you dare touch a hair on them, I'll drag a few of you down with me, even if I have to die. The human demon's face was extremely gloomy. He clenched his fists and fought against the suction from the cauldron. Rumble. The moment they clashed, the human demon was at a disadvantage. After all, the human demon was only a mid-earth immortal. Moreover, he was fighting against the suction from the cauldron while fighting against the old man and the others. Under such circumstances, it was already very good that the human demon wasn't killed in a short period of time. Why didn't the suction from the cauldron attack the old man and the others? Wu Patian frowned in confusion when he saw the human demon in such a difficult situation. That was because the suction force from the 5-fingered cauldron was only attacking them, not the hook-nosed elder and the others. Is there a limit to this suction from a cauldron? Since Wu Patian noticed this, Ningyu naturally noticed it as well. With a thought, Ningyu shifted his gaze to the cauldron. He felt that something was amiss. At this time, the cauldron was shaking under the attacks of the other 2 late-earth immortal experts. Moreover, Ningyu noticed that the cauldron was only passively defending. It didn't have the slightest initiative. Pucci. While Ningyu was still puzzled, the outcome of the battle had already been decided. Under the combined attacks of the old man and the bald man, the human demon finally couldn't hold on any longer and was sent flying. Ha! I didn't expect the formidable human demon to die in my hands. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. The hook-nosed old man punched the human devil in the chest, sending him flying. At the same time, the old man threw his head back and laughed maniacally before chasing after the human demon. Indeed, the human demon had killed a heavenly immortal before. If he killed the human demon now, he would have the right to brag about it. Wong. However, before the old man could catch up to the human demon, the cauldron on the other side shot out another terrifying suction. Compared to the previous suction force, this terrifying suction force was many times stronger. Not good. Sensing this terrifying suction force, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. He could sense that the target of the suction force was not the hook-nosed old man and the others, but him, Ning Lu, and the others. Damn it, Ningyu was about to cry. When it rains, it pours. Originally, it was very difficult for them to resist the attacks of the hook-nosed old man. Now that they were being attacked by the 5 pill furnaces, they were instantly at an absolute disadvantage. The heavens are helping me. The sudden change clearly caused the hook-nosed elder to be a little stunned. But soon, the hook-nosed old man was pleasantly surprised. Just now, he thought that the five-finger pill furnace would attack him. Who would have thought that it was a false alarm? Originally, he had the upper hand in his battle with the human devil. Now, with the help of the five-finger pill furnace, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. Today is the day you die. The aquiline-nosed old man was in high spirits. He was very awe-inspiring. But what happened next made the hook-nosed old man feel like he ate shit. The suction force that shot out from the five-finger pill furnace this time seemed to be a little different. The suction force from before had horrifying destructive power and could suck people dry. But the suction force this time was just pure suction force, which was to say that the suction force this time was not threatening at all. If it was just the suction force without any threat, the hook-nosed old man would not have this kind of expression. The most crucial thing was that the suction force actually wrapped Ning Yu and the human devil and the rest, sucking them into the five-finger pill furnace right in front of him. Swoosh! Furthermore, after the five-finger pill furnace sucked Ning Yu and the rest into its body, it immediately tore through the void and tunneled inside. Hurry up and stop it! The hook-nosed old man's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly roared. At this time, the hook-nosed old man's expression was very ugly. To him, the human devil's escape was like a cooked duck flying. Just as he was about to kill the human devil, he did not expect this kind of thing to happen. The hook-nosed old man clenched both hands into fists. All of the energy in his body gathered on his wrists. With a backhand, he punched out twice. Boom, boom, boom. Apart from the hook-nosed old man, the other three martial artists, including the bald man, also punched out. Several fist auras gathered together and suddenly blasted into the void where the five-finger pill furnace was escaping. Whoosh! In the void, inside the five-finger pill furnace. Everyone looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The five-finger pill furnace helped them? This result was indeed out of their expectations. Gulp! Swallowing hard, Ning Lu was the first to speak. This is the inside of the five-finger pill furnace. Ning Yu, you're an alchemist and your soul power has reached the monarch stage. How do you think we should leave? After Ning Yu had devoured Gong Yanqing's soul power, the strength of his soul had broken through the limit and reached a height he had not reached in his previous life. In the entire five-finger pill furnace, Ning Yu's soul power was the strongest. Therefore, apart from Ning Lu, everyone else looked at Ning Yu. There's no way for now. Under everyone's gaze, Ning Yu shook his head and said in a low voice, "This five-finger pill furnace is the path to immortality. With the strength of my soul power, there's no way I can control it. Are we just going to sit here and wait for death?" Wu Patian asked. The Five Fingers Cauldron belongs to the Five Fingers Immortal, and the Five Fingers Immortal is a Heaven Immortal expert. Unless we advance to the Heaven Immortal realm, we won't be able to leave. Ning Yu took a deep breath and said, whoosh. Ning Yu's words spread in everyone's minds like a plague. What was the difference between being trapped in the five-finger pill furnace and being unable to leave? Although the space inside the five-finger pill furnace was relatively large, no one would be able to stand being trapped for a long time. If I'm not wrong, the five-finger pill furnace's destination should be the Myriad Demon's Ridge. The human demon, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up. The transportation formation under Four Corner City is actually the five-finger pill furnace. Will the five-finger pill furnace let us out when we reach the Myriad Demon's Ridge? Wu Patian asked doubtfully. I'm not sure if it will let us out, but there's one thing I'm sure of. The human demon's expression turned solemn. The Five-Finger Immortal's disciples should be waiting for us in the Myriad Demon's Ridge. What the F*** CK? Wu Patian and the others immediately cursed. According to M.O. Chinya, the Five-Finger Immortal had a total of 5 disciples. The weakest disciple was a mid-stage Earth Immortal, and the strongest disciple was infinitely close to becoming a Sky Immortal. If all 5 of the Five-Finger Pill Furnace's disciples were here, it would be much more formidable than the hook-nosed old man's group. No matter how fast the Five-Finger Pill Furnace is, it will still take a long time to reach the Myriad Demon's Ridge from Four Corner City. Chapter 1920. The deepest part of the Five Fingers Cauldron. Hearing the human demon's words, Wu Patian and the others looked around with doubtful expressions. They could see the entire space of the Five Fingers Cauldron with a single glance. Although it was slightly bigger than an ordinary cauldron, it was only slightly bigger. They could reach the deepest part of the cauldron with a single leap. Now that the human demon said that he wanted to enter the deepest part of the Five Fingers Cauldron with Ning Yu and the others, how could Wu Patian and the others not be shocked? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. However, Ning Yu and the others did not care whether Wu Patian and the others were shocked or not. The four of them immediately leapt into the air and charged toward the interior of the Five Fingers Cauldron at a terrifying speed. The Five Fingers Cauldron was ranked on the immortal ranking of cauldrons. Thus, the space inside it would not be so small. The reason why Wu Patian and the others thought the Five Fingers Cauldron was because their cultivation was too weak to see through the barrier left behind by the Five Fingers Celestial. The Five Fingers Celestial was a heaven immortal. How could anyone see through the barrier he left behind? If it weren't for the fact that the barrier had been set up for a long time, causing cracks to appear on it, Ning Yu and the others would not have discovered it. Crack! Under the astonished gazes of Wu Patian and the others, Ning Yu and the others rammed into an invisible barrier, causing a gap to appear on the barrier. Wu Patian and the others forcefully entered the barrier. Buzz buzz. As soon as Ning Yu and the others entered the barrier healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. It did not take long for the barrier to heal completely. Gasp. This situation caused Wu Patian and the rest to suck in a cold breath of air. At this moment, they felt a little fortunate that Ning Yu and the demonic humans were the ones who entered the cauldron. Otherwise, they would definitely be trapped here with just two celestial spirit stage natives. Now that Ning Yu and the others had broken through the barrier and entered the deeper part of the Five Fingers Cauldron, they finally had a chance to survive. Watch out! At the same time, Ning Yu and the human demon who had just broken through the barrier encountered a huge problem. Originally, after they broke through the barrier, their speed was not considered too fast. Almost every step they took, they would stop to observe their surroundings. However, just 5 seconds later, Ning Yu and the others ran into big trouble. A giant puppet suddenly appeared in front of them. This puppet was 3 to 4 times the size of a normal person, and the aura it emitted was terrifying. Mid-Earth Immortal Stage. Ning Yu and the rest knew very well how difficult it was to deal with an intermediate earthly immortal puppet. Under the same circumstances, with the combination of Ning Yu and the other 3, with the human devil taking the vanguard and the other 3 suppressing the rear, they could easily kill an intermediate Earth immortal expert. After all, the human demon was a mid-Earth immortal. But now that he was facing a mid-earthly immortal stage puppet, the situation was completely different. There were 2 ways to deal with puppets. The first was to find its control center and make it his own. Second, use a powerful force to blast it into pieces. These 2 methods were obviously not practical for Ning Yu and the rest. Their goal was to explore and find a way to break through the Five Fingers Cauldron, not to fight an intermediate Earth immortal puppet. I'll hold this puppet back. You guys continue forward. Looking at the puppet that was emitting a terrifying aura, Hong Mo took a deep breath and said, since the Five-Fingered Immortal left a puppet here to watch over the cauldron, it means that there must be some sort of secret deep within the cauldron. We cannot afford to waste any more time here. Otherwise, the moment the Five-Fingered Immortal leaves, the Five-Fingered Pill Cauldron will be destroyed. Otherwise, if the Five Fingers Cauldron flies to the Myriad Demon Ridge, we'll all die. I'll stay. You're not a match for the puppet. This puppet might be difficult to deal with, but I have a way to trap it. Human Demon took a step forward and said, all right, Senior Human Demon will stay. The 3 of us will continue forward. Ningyu is not an indecisive person. Although Hong Mo had advanced to the Great Circle Sage stage and his overall strength could fight against an early human immortal, the puppet in front of him was a mid-Earth immortal. Among the 4 of them, only Human Demon could stay and fight the puppet head-on. Swoosh! Seeing Ning use decisiveness, Human Demon nodded his head in relief. He leaped up and started fighting with the giant puppet. Let's go. Seeing the human demon was holding back the giant puppet, Ningyu moved without hesitation and continued to rush into the depths of the Five Fingers Cauldron. Swoosh! Swoosh! Hong Mo and Ning Lu followed closely behind Ningyu, forming a triangle with Ningyu. What puzzled Ningyu was that he did not encounter any danger in the next half an hour after he left the giant puppet. Moreover, as they went deeper into the cauldron, the density of the surrounding essence qi became more and more terrifying. In the end, Ningyu felt like he was immersed in an ocean of essence qi. If I cultivate here, it won't take long for me to advance to the Great Circle Sage stage. Ningyu's face became extremely solemn. Right now, his cultivation was at the peak of the Sage realm. Although his overall strength was comparable to a human immortal intermediate stage martial artist, with the weakening of the plane barrier, the enemies that they were going to face next were basically from a higher plane and were extremely powerful. Under such circumstances, he urgently needed to improve his strength. He could feel that as long as he improved his cultivation to the Great Circle Sage stage, his strength would increase exponentially. Let's go! Ningyu took a deep breath and exhaled. Then, he stomped his feet on the ground and dashed forward again. Ningyu knew better than anyone that Human Demon was fighting against the giant puppet, and the safety of the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei depended on him. At other times, he might stay and cultivate, but now was a critical time. He could only continue to go deeper into the Five Fingers Cauldron and look for opportunities to leave it. Swoosh! 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 Since Ningyu had left, Hong Mo and Ning Lu naturally would not stay behind. They continued to move forward. Swoosh! However, they had only taken a few steps when they stopped in unison. Hiss! Looking at the scene in front of them, even though Ningyu and Ning Lu had seen a lot, they could not help but gasp. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. Extremely, extremely terrifying. It would not be an exaggeration to describe the scene in front of them as purgatory on earth. The entire area was filled with eerie white bones. Above the pile of bones was a circular altar. On the altar, there was a golden box that was emitting five-colored light. What a powerful medicinal effect! Although the golden box was very sealed, the terrifying medicinal effect that was emitted from the golden box could not be hidden from Ningyu and the others. The elixirs inside are at least peak royal level. Ningyu's pupils constricted as he said in a deep voice. Above the royal level elixirs were sacred level elixirs. Ningyu's current soul strength was at grade 1 royal level. Strictly speaking, he could only refine royal level elixirs. To refine royal level elixirs, he had to be at least a grade 10 royal level alchemist or a sacred level alchemist. Chapter 1921. At this thought, Ningyu's expression became extremely solemn. Although he wasn't someone from a higher plane, and his cultivation was only at the heavenly supreme realm in his previous life, he had devoured many experts from the higher planes. From their memories, he understood some information about the higher planes. A heaven immortal from a high-level cultivation plane was an overlord who could dominate a large territory and summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. Even such a terrifying celestial immortal had to greet a true saint-grade pill refiner with the utmost respect. It could be said that in a high-level cultivation plane, every sage-grade alchemist had a very respectable status. He was not a heaven immortal, but he surpassed one. How could Ningyu not be shocked when the five-fingered immortal was a sky immortal to begin with, and it was highly possible that he was a sage-grade alchemist? How could such a terrifying person not have left a backup plan in his alchemy cauldron? The more Ningyu thought about it, the more solemn his expression became. I'll go get the golden box. While Ningyu was pondering, Ning Lu's eyes turned cold, and he immediately dashed toward the golden box. Ningyu's expression changed when he saw Ning Lu rushing out recklessly. He hurriedly shouted, "Come back, Rumble!" However, Ningyu's shout was obviously slower by half a beat. An illusory palm print suddenly shot out from the golden box and slapped toward Ning Lu. Break! Ning Lu seemed to have guessed that this would happen. The essence chi in his body surged, and a dark golden branch containing terrifying essence chi suddenly shot out from the top of his head. Without a doubt, the dark golden branch was Ning Lu's natal branch. As the tree of the world, Ning Lu had long refined all the dark golden branches into one. Crack! When the dark golden branches came into contact with the illusory palm print, the illusory palm print was shattered on the spot. A soft sound of surprise was heard the moment the illusory palm was shattered. It was obvious that the martial artist who had made the sound was full of disbelief. No matter who you are, the fact that you can barge into this place means that you have some ability. An ethereal voice rang in the ears of Ningyu and the others. Ever since I descended into the immortal spirit realm, a total of several dozen people have been sucked into the five-finger pill cauldron. Of those people, more than half have made it here. All those who manage to barge their way here, I'll give them a huge gift. I'll use them as fertilizer to nourish my five-finger immortal pills. As the illusory voice was heard, an invisible pressure suddenly descended upon the place. Under this invisible pressure, Ningyu, the Red Devil, and the others couldn't bear it any longer. They couldn't help but want to kneel down. The pressure of an earth immortal. The terrifying pressure had surpassed the limit of a human immortal and was heading straight for an earth immortal. If the pressure was only at the level of a human immortal, Ningyu, Hong Fiend, and the others would be able to withstand it if they joined forces. But now the power was heading straight for the earth immortals. How could they stop it? Stop your pointless struggle. With your nourishment, I will be able to successfully refine the five-finger immortal pill in a few hours. A burst of wild laughter echoed in the ears of Ningyu and the others. Following this, a terrifying suction force was emitted from the golden box, which instantly wrapped around Ningyu and the others and dragged them into the golden box. Puff! As soon as they entered the golden box, Ningyu felt a little breathless due to the terrifying pressure. He even spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Is this the five-finger immortal pill? Suppressing the pressure coming from all over his body, Ningyu stared fixedly at the illusory figure in front of him and the fist-sized pill beside the illusory figure. The pill was silvery white in color and emitted a faint red glow. It was indeed Ningyu's first time seeing a silvery white pill emitting a red glow. That's right, this is the five-finger immortal pill. The illusionary figure nodded and said, "You should be proud to be the fertilizer for the five-finger immortal pill." "You are the five-finger immortal?" Ningyu asked as his gaze landed on the illusionary figure. Yes and no. The illusionary figure nodded at first, then shook his head and said, "The three of you better stand beside the five-finger immortal pill and let it devour you. That way, you will feel less pain." Wait a minute. How shrewd was Ningyu? When they were outside, the illusionary figure's palm print was broken by Ning Lu with a single move. The reason they had entered the golden box was because the golden box had emitted a terrifying suction force. Furthermore, they were already in a life-or-death situation with the illusionary figure. Why would the illusionary figure let them go? However, the illusionary figure did not attack first. This was a little thought-provoking. Did the illusionary figure not want them to suffer? That was obviously nonsense. Therefore, there was only one possibility. The illusionary figure was not at its peak. In other words, the illusionary figure was only a clone that the five-finger immortal had left in the five-finger immortal pill cauldron. Perhaps this doppelganger was very powerful in the beginning, but as time passed, coupled with the eerie white bones on the outside, it directly caused the illusory figure's strength to drop by a huge level. Everyone attacked together. Ningyu's eyes glinted coldly as he channeled the primordial chi in his body into the red demon's sword. He held the red demon's sword in his hand and slashed out with it. Die! When he saw Ningyu attack, Ning Lu also took out the natal branch in his body and charged forward. As for the red demon, it turned into a red flying sword and slashed at the illusionary figure. The illusionary figure looked flustered when he saw Ningyu and the others suddenly attack. However, His expression disappeared in a flash, so no one saw it. Since you are courting death, I shall grant your wish. The illusionary figure waved its hands repeatedly and produced several palm imprints in an instant. These palm imprints were even more terrifying than the previous ones. Some of them were even close to materializing. Crack, crack, crack. However, Ningyu and the others are not weak either. Ningyu wielded the red demon's sword and slashed apart the palm imprints on the spot. Ninglu also activated the natal branch and went on a killing spree. The red demon's battle record was slightly weaker. He did not seem to be focused on destroying the palm imprints. Instead, he slowly made his way to the side of the five-finger immortal pill. Oh no! The illusionary figure was very perceptive. He noticed that something was wrong when the red demon approached the five-finger immortal pill. If you dare touch my five-finger immortal pill, I will kill you. The illusionary figure roared. You want to kill me? In your next life? Under the threat of the illusionary figure, the red demon slashed at the tray below the five-finger immortal pill and sent it flying. Swoosh! The five-finger immortal pill flew in the direction of Ningyu. Ningyu was busy blocking the palm imprints. When he felt a cold gleam flying toward him, he immediately turned around. However, when Ningyu turned around, his mouth opened involuntarily. Chapter 1922. The five-finger immortal pill ingestion plan did not give Ningyu any time to think before it entered his body. Moreover, the horrifying medicinal power of the five-finger divine pill instantly engulfed Ningyu's body. Crack, crack, crack. Clear and melodious sounds came from Ningyu's body. These voices caused Ningyu's pupils to constrict, and he was unable to maintain his composure. His body had been tempered several times before. Qilin blood and true dragon blood tempered his body. Every time he tempered his body, a large amount of impurities would be expelled from his body. Moreover, every time he tempered his body, his physical strength would increase exponentially. Initially, he thought that he wouldn't have another chance to temper his body after being tempered by the Kirin's blood and the true dragon's blood. However, he accidentally swallowed the five-finger immortal pill, which gave him another chance to temper his body. Five-finger divine pill to temper his body. No, I can't temper my body now. Although Ningyu wanted to temper his body immediately, he knew better than anyone that he must not temper his body before dealing with the illusory figure, because the illusory figure would definitely not sit back and do nothing. Ningyu was right. The illusory figure was on the verge of going berserk. He had guarded the five-finger divine pill for such a long time. Just as he was about to get it, he did not expect it to be swallowed by a martial artist at the peak of the sage realm. How could he not be angry? Now, the illusory figure only had one thought in his mind, which was to kill Ningyu and refine the five-finger divine pill as soon as possible before its medicinal power completely dissipated. Protect Ningyu. However, the illusory figure wanted to kill Ningyu. How could Ninglu and the Red Devil let him do as he pleased for no reason? Then, Ninglu and the Red Devil rushed out and stood beside Ningyu, one on the left and one on the right. I will kill anyone who dares to stop me. The illusory figure was extremely furious. He raised his head and shouted, charging straight at Ningyu. Although he would definitely be attacked by Ninglu and the Red Fiend if he charged blindly like this, the illusory figure couldn't care less. This was because with every passing second, the medicinal effects of the five-finger immortal pill would weaken a little. Once the power of the five-finger immortal pill completely disappeared, his years of planning would be in vain. Kill! Kill! Ninglu and the Red Fiend went all out. Everyone used their full strength. Among them, Ninglu had used his natal branch. The Red Fiend had somehow taken the Red Fiend sword from Ningyu's hand and fused it with the Red Fiend sword, launching a sure-kill attack. Puff! Puff! In the face of the two terrifying attacks, the illusory figure seemed to have not seen them at all and continued to rush towards Ningyu without a care. However, as it was charging forward, the illusory figure was struck by two terrifying attacks and immediately spat out two mouthfuls of blood. fresh blood spurted out, and the illusory figure's aura dropped by another level. If the aura that the illusionary figure emitted previously was that of an early Earth immortal, it had now fallen to the peak of a human immortal. Moreover, as Ning Lu and the Red Fiend continued to attack, the illusory figure's aura continued to drop. Go to hell. Although the aura had dropped to the human immortal realm, the illusory figure forcefully broke through the defense of Ning Lu and the Red Fiend and descended in front of Ning Yu. A cold voice came out of the illusory figure's mouth. Then, the illusory figure suddenly turned into a small 5-finger immortal cauldron and slammed towards Ning Yu. Puff! Under the impact of the small 5-finger immortal cauldron, Ning Yu spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was on the verge of collapsing. If this was before the tempering of the 5-finger immortal pill, Ning Yu would definitely not be able to withstand this impact. But now his physical strength had once again improved qualitatively. With just his physical strength, he could even easily kill a martial artist in the intermediate human immortal realm. With his various trump cards, he was confident that he could kill a martial artist in the peak of human immortal realm. Of course, this was all based on the current situation. Ning Yu had only refined 1/10 of the power of the 5-finger immortal pill. Once Ning Yu completely refined all 5 of the 5-finger immortal pills, to what extent would his overall strength reach? But now, Ning Yu was faced with 2 choices. First, stop tempering his body with the 5-finger immortal pill and increase his cultivation. In that case, he could easily increase his cultivation to the human immortal realm or even the peak of human immortal realm with the help of the 5-finger immortal pill. After all, the 5-finger immortal pill was a peak monarch level elixir that was infinitely close to the sage level. Every time such an elixir appeared, it would cause heaven immortals to kill each other. Second, continue tempering his body with the 5-finger immortal pill. In that case, the strength of his body could be increased to an extremely terrifying level. By then, he could even compete with an early Earth immortal realm martial artist with his physical strength alone. Either of the 2 choices could increase Ning Yu's overall strength by several times or even dozens of times. Temper my body. Ning Yu gritted his teeth and decided to continue tempering his body on the spot. Now that the plane barrier had loosened and the immortal spirit state had undergone a huge change, it was no longer the peak of the sage realm. It was foreseeable that after a period of time, the native martial artists of the immortal spirit state would experience a huge increase in their cultivation. Peak sage experts like Wu Patian and the Divine War Crane could easily break through to the sage perfected stage or the human immortal realm. After all, they had been stuck at the peak of the sage realm for too long, and the energy in their bodies had reached a terrifying level. It could be said that every peak sage expert of the immortal spirit state could instantly kill a peak sage expert from a higher plane. They just lacked a cultivation environment. I'm so angry. The illusory figure was furious when he saw that he had failed to knock Ning Yu away. But as the clone of the 5-finger immortal, the illusory figure knew that he had missed the best opportunity. Following that, with every passing minute, his strength would decrease a little, while the hardness of Ning Yu's body would increase a little. Under such circumstances, he would never be a match for Ning Yu. With Ning Yu in front of him and Ning Lu and the Red Devil behind him, he had no way out. The illusory figure took a deep breath and said viciously, "Since you have swallowed my 5-finger immortal pill, I will kill all your friends and let you live in endless pain forever." This was the 5-finger immortal pill cauldron, and the illusory figure was the clone of the 5-finger immortal pill. He could control the 5-finger immortal pill cauldron perfectly. If he wanted to kill the Dark Emperor and Lu Wei, it would be very easy. How dare you? Ning Yu opened his eyes and forcefully stopped the tempering of the 5-finger immortal pill. The 5-finger immortal pill was a little special. Once he stopped, Ning Yu could only choose the second option, which was to use it to increase his cultivation. Originally, Ning Yu could complete the tempering and strengthen his body by several times. He could use his body to fight against a primary stage Earth immortal martial artist. Now that he stopped the tempering, Ning could only use his physical strength to fight against a peak stage human immortal martial artist. If he wanted to fight or kill a primary stage Earth immortal martial artist, Ning only had one choice. That was to completely refine the five-finger immortal pill within 3 minutes and break through to the human immortal realm. Chapter 1923. The illusionary figure's aura continued to drop. Now, it was only at the peak of the human immortal realm. Although Ning, you had only consumed a portion of the five-finger immortal pill, his physical body was already strong enough to fight against a peak human immortal realm martial artist. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Ning took a step forward and punched at the illusionary figure. "You're courting death." The illusionary figure was enraged. His eyes emitted a cold gleam as he charged at Ningyu. Almost instantly, Ningyu and the illusionary figure began to fight. Crack! The power of a peak human immortal realm martial artist was extremely strong. With a crisp sound, the golden box that Ningyu and the others were in suddenly cracked open. Then it completely shattered. "Let's go." As soon as the golden box shattered, Ning Lu and the Red Devil joined the battle. Although the illusionary figure would definitely lose if the battle continued like this. However, they were inside the five-finger cauldron, and the illusionary figure was a clone of the five-finger immortal. Who knew if the five-finger immortal had a backup plan? What if the five-finger immortal's backup plan appeared just as Ningyu was about to win? Wouldn't Ningyu be doomed? The current situation was very clear. As long as the two of them joined forces, together with Ning, using incredible physical strength, they would be able to kill the illusionary figure in less than 3 minutes. Under such circumstances, they naturally would not sit idly by. Rumble. As soon as Ning Lu and the Red Devil made their moves, the situation became one-sided. Although Ningyu had the upper hand, the illusionary figure could still struggle. But now, the illusionary figure could only struggle like a trapped beast. It was difficult for it to even struggle. Puff! The battle lasted for another 2 minutes. Finally, the illusionary figure spat out a mouthful of blood and turned into nothingness. Puff! What Ningyu and the others didn't know was that after they joined forces to kill the illusory figure, in a forest in the Myriad Demon's Ridge, an old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of dark red blood, and his body directly fell from the sky to the ground. Ka. The old man leaped up from the ground and clenched his fist tightly. His eyes were filled with malice. If Ningyu and the others were here, they would definitely notice that the old man's physique was similar to that of the illusory figure. Five-fingered immortal. That's right, the old man was none other than the owner of the five-fingered cauldron, the five-fingered celestial. How dare you touch my five-finger immortal pill? No matter who you are, no matter where you go, I will find you and grind your bones into dust. The five-fingered immortal clenched his fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. Even his face had become somewhat distorted. In order to refine the five-finger immortal pill, he didn't hesitate to descend from a higher plane to the immortal spirit realm and spend a large amount of medicinal ingredients. Just as he was about to successfully concoct the pill, someone suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Not only did that person kill the clone he had left in the Five Fingers Cauldron, he even swallowed the Five Fingers immortal pill. How could he not be angry? Forget it. I'll put this matter aside for now. I'll settle the score with you after I've obtained the power of origin. The five-fingered immortal took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. The plane barrier had loosened, and his suppressed cultivation had also gained some leverage. Even though he couldn't display the strength of a sky immortal, he could use some trump cards to display the strength of a peak earth immortal. Actually, he had 2 plans for descending to the immortal spirit realm. The first plan wasn't to refine the five-finger immortal pill, but to obtain the power of origin. After all, the five-finger immortal pill was only a peak royal grade pill. There was still a gap between it and a true sage grade pill. The power of origin was different. The effect of the power of origin was comparable to that of a sage grade pill. As long as he could obtain a large amount of power of origin, when he returned to a higher plane, he could even advance to the mid-sky immortal stage. Once one's cultivation reached the sky immortal stage, every small step forward was 100 times more difficult than ascending to the heavens. An early sky immortal stage martial artist could rule over a territory, while mid-sky immortal stage martial artist could rule over several territories. The more territories they ruled, the more resources they would have, and the faster their cultivation would be. Therefore, who wouldn't want to rule over more territories? Whoosh! Ningyu didn't know about the Five-Finger Immortals plan. After killing the illusory figure, he heaved a sigh of relief. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to refine the remaining power of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill in his body. Ningyu's cultivation was currently at the peak sage grade. With just his physical strength, he could fight against a peak human immortal stage martial artist. But that wasn't enough. Ningyu's plan was to refine the Five-Finger Immortal Pill as soon as possible, then see if he could control the Five-Finger Immortal Pill furnace. After all, if he wanted to leave the Five-Finger Immortal Pill, he had to control it. Otherwise, he could only look for the Five-Finger Immortal and beg him for help. Of course, Ningyu knew better than anyone that he could look for help from anyone but the Five-Finger Immortal. He had killed the Five-Finger Immortal's clone and obtained the Five-Finger Immortal Pill. It would be strange if the Five-Finger Immortal was willing to help him. Buzz. Luckily, Ningyu had used the Five-Finger Immortal Pill to refine his body first. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to withstand the terrifying power of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill. The energy in his body rumbled, and Ningyu's aura skyrocketed at a terrifying speed. Bang! Not long after, there was a muffled sound. Ningyu opened his eyes, and the aura in his body disappeared in a flash. Complete sage grade. Although Ningyu withdrew his aura quickly, the sudden release of his aura did not escape the senses of Ninglu and the Hong Mo, sensing the terrifying aura emitted from Ningyu's body. Ninglu and the Hong Mo looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Was the Five-Finger Immortal Pill really that terrifying? How long had it been? Only a dozen or so seconds had passed since he killed the illusory figure. In just a dozen seconds, Ningyu had advanced from the peak sage grade to the complete sage grade. It was a miracle. Bang! What surprised the Hong Mo and Ning Lu was yet to come. Another dozen seconds later, there was another muffled sound. Early stage, human immortal grade. Ningyu's cultivation had advanced from the complete sage grade to the real early stage, human immortal grade. Rumble. When Ningyu advanced to the early stage, human immortal grade, the void above the Five-Finger Immortal Pill cauldron suddenly trembled. Following this, several thunderbolts appeared, trying to strike Ningyu. However, this was the immortal spirit region. If the thunderbolts wanted to strike Ningyu, they would first have to break through the defense of the plane barrier. Moreover, after breaking through the defense of the plane barrier, they would have to break through the defense of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill cauldron. The thunderbolts in the void seemed to be very intelligent. They only appeared for a while before they suddenly disappeared. A powerful being could discover them. The thunderbolts did not retreat, but hibernated in the void. Chapter 1924. Ning Lu and Hong Mo thought that this would be the end of Ningyu's advancement to the early stage human immortal realm. To their surprise, Ningyu's aura continued to rise. Crack! Under the pressure of Ningyu's powerful aura, the surrounding void began to crackle. This, Ning Lu's mouth was agape, his face filled with disbelief. Hong Mo, who was at the side, stood rooted to the ground with a dumbfounded expression. Both of them were extremely confused. Logically speaking, the medicinal power of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill shouldn't be that strong. Ningyu had used the medicinal power of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill to temper his body, increasing his physical strength to the peak human immortal realm. The remaining medicinal power of the Five-Finger Immortal Pill wasn't at its peak. Under such circumstances, Ningyu was still able to break through consecutively. It was unbelievable. Ning Lu and Hong Mo weren't the only ones who found it unbelievable. Ningyu himself was in disbelief too. Is there something strange about this five-finger immortal pill? Ning Yu's expression turned solemn. He had already determined the grade of the five-finger immortal pill after using it to temper his body. A 10th grade Emperor grade pill was only a step away from becoming a sacred grade pill. If it was a real sacred grade pill, its effects would be obvious. Even if a portion of the medicinal power was used up, Ning Yu would still be able to advance to the mid-stage human immortal realm easily. However, the medicinal power of a 10th grade Emperor grade pill wouldn't be able to last until Ning Yu reached the mid-stage human immortal realm. Buzz. While Ning Yu was feeling confused, the Yuan Qi in the five-finger immortal pill cauldron flew toward him. I got it. The arrival of countless essence Qi made Ning Yu instantly understand the ins and outs of the matter. The reason the five-finger immortal was furious about losing the five-finger immortal pill wasn't because it was a 10th grade Emperor grade pill, but because it was the key to controlling the five-finger immortal pill cauldron. To be exact, the five-fingered immortal had placed the key to controlling the five-fingered cauldron in the five-fingered immortal pill. Now that Ning Yu had swallowed the five-finger immortal pill, he could naturally control the five-finger pill cauldron. However, at this time, Ning Yu did not have time to think about how to control the five-fingered alchemy furnace. What he needed to do now was to do everything possible to improve his cultivation. Ning Lu, Hong Imo, the inside of the cauldron is safe. Go help Human Devil and see if you can capture that giant puppet alive. Ning Yu immediately sat down cross-legged and instructed Ning Lu and the Red Devil while devouring the remaining medicinal efficacy of the five-finger elixir in his body and the primordial qi that surged over. Multitasking. Ever since he advanced to the early human immortal stage, Ning Yu could even multitask 4 times without a problem, let alone 3 times. After all, human immortal level experts could already be called immortals. The five-fingered alchemy furnace is already safe. To be honest, Ning Lu and Hong Mo were very confused when they heard Ning Yu's instructions. They had only killed a clone of the five-fingered immortal. Who knew if the five-fingered immortal had any other tricks up his sleeves? Why would Ning Yu say that the five-fingered alchemy furnace was safe? The key to controlling the five-fingered alchemy furnace is the five-fingered immortal pill. Ning Yu, who could see the doubts in their eyes, explained in a deep voice, "The five-fingered alchemy furnace is now under my control." Whoosh! Ning Lu and Hong Mo were relieved by Ning Yu's words. Since Ning Yu was in control of the five-fingered alchemy furnace, there was no point for them to stay any longer. Human Devil was still fighting the giant puppet, so the two of them could free up their hands to help. Although their cultivation had not reached the human immortal stage, it was not a problem for them to control the giant puppet from the side. Swish! Swish! With a flash, Ning Lu and the Red Fiend disappeared. Breakthrough. After Ning Lu and Hong Mo left, Ning Yu hurriedly used the spiritual transformation art to the extreme and began to devour the remaining medicinal efficacy of the five-fingered immortal pill and the surrounding primordial qi. However, Ning Yu had not devoured for long before he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was on the verge of collapsing. Oh no! The medicinal efficacy of the five-fingered immortal pill has completely exploded. Ning Yu's face was extremely gloomy. It was obvious that the five-fingered immortal knew that he had devoured the five-fingered immortal pill. However, the five-fingered immortal did not want him to devour the five-fingered immortal pill peacefully. Therefore, he completely detonated the medicinal efficacy of the five-fingered immortal pill, causing it to completely explode in Ning Yu's body. If Ning Yu's cultivation had been at the Earth immortal stage, then the detonation of the five-fingered immortal pill would have been fine. After all, he could instantly devour the five-fingered immortal pill. However, the problem was that Ning Yu was only at the early stage of the human immortal stage. There was still a long way to go before he could reach the mid-stage of the human immortal stage. Moreover, the spiritualization skill was only at the 9th level. Therefore, the speed at which he devoured the medicinal efficacy of the five-fingered immortal pill and the primordial qi was relatively slow. I must cultivate the spiritualization skill to the 10th level. Ningyu made a prompt decision and decided to use his body to withstand the impact of the primordial qi and the medicinal efficacy. As for himself, he would focus on cultivating the spiritualization skill. Although the speed at which the first 9 levels of the spiritualization skill devoured primordial qi was fast, it was far from enough for Ningyu. The cultivation of the 10th level of the spiritualization skill was imminent. He could not rush the cultivation of the 10th level of the spiritualization skill. Ningyu first took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Then, Ningyu went through the cultivation method of the 10th level of the spiritualization skill in his mind before he began to cultivate. Fortunately, Ningyu had cultivated the spiritualization skill to the peak of the 9th level, so he was not too far away from the 10th level. Moreover, his soul force was at the first-grade monarch stage, and his cultivation was at the early stage of the human immortal stage. Therefore, it only took him a few seconds to successfully cultivate the 10th level of the spiritualization skill. Otherwise, he estimated that he would need at least an hour to successfully cultivate the 10th level of the spiritualization skill. Devour everything. After cultivating the spiritualization skill to the 10th level, Ningyu's confidence instantly increased. He exerted the spiritualization skill to the extreme and began to devour madly. Chi. As the primordial qi in his body increased, Ningyu's body emitted a chi sound. Fortunately, this sound did not last for too long. When Ningyu advanced to the mid-stage of the human immortal stage, it stopped abruptly. Rumble. A terrifying aura shot out from Ningyu's body into the sky. Mid-stage of the human immortal stage. Ningyu's cultivation had reached the terrifying mid-stage of the human immortal stage. Only a few minutes had passed since Ningyu advanced to the early stage of the human immortal stage. From the early stage to the mid-stage of the human immortal stage in just a few minutes, Ningyu had created another miracle. Of course, Ningyu had created many miracles, so it was no longer surprising. There's still so much primordial qi. Chapter 1925. Now, Ningyu was faced with two choices. First, he could devour and refine all the yuan qi and the remaining medicinal effects of the 5-finger immortal pill. In this way, his cultivation should be able to reach the peak of the human immortal stage without any suspense. However, this was also very risky. After all, Ningyu had made successive breakthroughs on the same day. His cultivation had not stabilized and was still fluctuating. If he were to break through to the peak of the human immortal stage now, there was a high possibility that the yuan qi in his body would become chaotic. It was not a wise move. Second, he could stop cultivating immediately and find a way to store all the yuan qi and medicinal effects as his trump card. With such a large amount of elemental qi, if handled properly, it could even be used to launch a sneak attack on an intermediate Earth immortal expert. In other words, with so much yuan qi, Ningyu had the ability to kill a mid-stage Earth immortal stage martial artist. After all, any intermediate earthly immortal realm expert possessed numerous trump cards, and it was as difficult as ascending the heavens to kill them. Black bead. Ningyu did not think for too long. He took out the black bead that he had taken from Mo Chinya. In Ningyu's opinion, since the black bead could store origin energy, it could definitely store so much yuan qi and the remaining medicinal effect of the 5-finger immortal pill. Go in. After taking out the black bead, Ningyu immediately used his soul power to control the yuan qi around him to enter the black bead. This seemed easy, but it was actually quite difficult to do. If it was not for Ningyu's current cultivation, terrifying physical strength, and powerful soul power, he would not have been able to complete this task. Drip, drip. Time is ticking away. In order to store all the yuan qi and the remaining medicinal effects of the 5-finger immortal pill into the black bead, Ningyu could be said to have expended Herculean effort. From the moment Ningyu decided to store yuan qi to the moment he stored all the yuan qi into the black bead, it took him a total of 10 minutes. Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief when he had successfully stored all the primordial chi into the black pearl. He looked as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. If someone was next to Ningyu at this time, they would definitely see that Ningyu's whole body was soaked in sweat, and bean-sized beads of sweat were dripping down his forehead. In order to store this vital energy, Ningyu was almost exhausted. Whoosh! After tossing the black bead into his storage ring, Ningyu sat down with his legs crossed and began to circulate a spell technique to recover. Although Ningyu wanted to help Human Demon and the others, he was well aware of his own situation. At this moment, even a random sage-level warrior could easily kill him. Therefore, his top priority was to recover to his peak state as soon as possible, not to help the demonic humans. While Ningyu was recuperating, on the other side of the battlefield, the scales of victory were tilting in the Human Demon's favor, because Ning Lu and the Red Fiend had already joined the battlefield. Originally, Human Demon had the upper hand. Now, with the addition of 2 new forces, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. Ning Lu and the Red Fiend restrained the puppet from the side, while Human Demon attacked from the front. Although Human Demon's cultivation was only at the middle stage of Earth Immortal, he used to be a Sky Immortal expert. Against a puppet of the same cultivation level, especially with Ning Lu and the Red Fiend holding it back, it naturally wasn't too difficult. Human Demon stomped on the ground. His body rose into the air and rushed toward the giant puppet. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Human Demon punched the giant puppet's head without hesitation. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Following that, the Human Demon quickly retreated while the giant puppet crashed into the ground. If it weren't for Ningyu's order to capture the giant puppet alive, Human Demon's punch would have been enough to flatten the giant puppet's head. Of course, even if Human Demon could flatten the giant puppet's head, he wouldn't be able to kill it. This was because there were only 2 ways to kill the giant puppets. One was to use brute force to blow it up, and the other was to destroy the puppet's core. Guard me. I'm going to set up a formation to capture. Human Demon immediately shouted at Ning Lu and the Red Fiend after sending the giant puppet flying. However, Human Demon's expression changed drastically as soon as he finished speaking. Rumble. That was because a terrifying sound suddenly rang in his ears. Then, the entire cauldron began to shake. What's going on? The sudden change caused Human Demon's pupils to shrink, his face full of confusion. Whoosh! At this moment, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and took a step forward, landing beside Human Demon. Someone's attacking the cauldron. Since Ningyu had control over the cauldron, he naturally knew why it was shaking. The cauldron is already under your control, and its path has also deviated. So why is there still someone attacking it? The Red Fiend asked. If I've guessed correctly, the one attacking the cauldron should be the 5-fingered Immortal's disciple, Ningyu said with a grave expression. The 5-fingered Immortal's disciple. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Red Fiend and Ning Lu's eyes narrowed. According to Mo Chinya, the 5-fingered Immortal had a total of 5 disciples. Even the weakest one was in the intermediate earthly immortal realm. Even his eldest disciple was infinitely close to the heavenly sovereign realm. Russell. In an instant, Ning Lu and the Red Fiend shifted their gazes to Human Demon. With Ning Yu's overall strength, he might be able to confront and even kill an early earthly immortal realm cultivator. But facing an intermediate earthly immortal realm cultivator, he shouldn't be able to escape unscathed. That also meant that in the entire cauldron, only Human Demon could kill an intermediate earthly immortal realm cultivator. How many people are out there? Human Demon asked. At this moment, Human Demon could feel the tension in the air. Having just experienced a great battle, although he had firmly suppressed the giant puppet, it would still take him a few more minutes to control it and make it work for him. And it was obvious that no one would be able to fight for him in these few minutes. 2. Ningyu took a deep breath and said to the human devil, "Throw the giant puppet into the deepest part of the cauldron. I will activate the array inside the cauldron to trap it. Next, when I will go out to fight the 2 experts outside. You'll go out with me?" Human Demon was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect Ningyu to say such a thing. If the two people outside were the five-fingered immortal's disciples, then their cultivation would at least be in the intermediate earthly immortal realm, and they would have many trump cards. Ningyu was a peak sage? No. Suddenly, human demon's eyes narrowed. His face was filled with shock. His attention had been focused on the giant puppet and the two experts outside. He didn't notice that Ningyu had advanced to the intermediate earthly immortal realm. Human demon sized up Ningyu. The more he looked, the more shocked he became. Not only had Ningyu's cultivation reached the intermediate earthly immortal realm, but his physique had also reached a terrifying level. Chapter 1926. You've actually advanced to the mid-stage, human immortal stage. The human demon was shocked. He remembered very clearly that it had only been an hour or so since he and Ningyu parted ways. An hour wasn't short, but it wasn't long either. It was a miracle that Ningyu could advance to the mid-stage, human immortal stage from the peak sage stage in an hour. It was an almost impossible miracle. I'll deal with the two martial artists myself. The human demon's shock didn't last for long. He quickly turned to Ningyu and said, "Since you can control the Five Fingers Cauldron, why don't you stay here? When I'm fighting with the two martial artists outside, you can take the cauldron and leave." The human demon's plan was simple. He would hold back the two experts outside and buy enough time for Ningyu. In his opinion, even if Ningyu had advanced to the mid-stage, human immortal stage, his strength wouldn't be too strong. With Ningyu's current strength, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to deal with an early-stage Earth immortal stage expert. However, it would be extremely difficult for him to deal with a mid-stage or even a late-stage Earth immortal stage expert. "Do you think you could still leave now?" Ningyu took a deep breath. He ignored the human demon's thoughts and leaped out of the Five Fingers Cauldron. "Damn it!" The human demon cursed under his breath when he saw Ningyu leave. He then followed closely behind Ningyu. Ningyu is only a mid-stage, human immortal stage expert. The human demon didn't want Ningyu to die for nothing. "How dare you steal Master's Five Fingers immortal pill? I have to say, you're really bold." Outside the Five Fingers Cauldron, two martial artists stared at the human demon as he shot out of the cauldron and said in a low voice. The attention of these two martial artists was completely focused on the human demon. After all, Ningyu is only a mid-stage, human immortal stage expert. He wasn't worthy of their attention. So what if I did? The human devil took a step forward, shielding Ningyu behind him, and said in a cold voice, "You two intermediate Earth immortal cats and dogs are not enough to make me compromise." The two cultivators who blocked the way didn't hide their cultivation, so the human devil could easily see through their cultivation. They were both intermediate Earth immortal experts. The human demon's worry was greatly alleviated when he found out that the two cultivators blocking his way were at the intermediate Earth immortal realm. As long as there weren't any late Earth immortal experts, he and Ningyu might be able to contend against them. "I alone am enough to kill trash like you." The human demon's goading had clearly worked. One of the middle-aged men took a step forward and said in an awe-inspiring voice, "This day next year will be the anniversary of your death." Swords were drawn, and the battle was on the verge of breaking out. But right at this moment, Ningyu hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Who are the two of you? Quickly tell me your names." Ningyu, don't kill nameless people." Five Finger Immortal's fifth disciple, Chu Feng. Five Finger Immortal's fourth disciple, Chu Yu. The two intermediate Earth immortal experts replied in unison. "Senior human demon, you deal with Chu Feng. Leave Chu Yu to me." Ningyu thought for a moment, then said to the human demon, "Remember not to kill them immediately. If you can capture them alive, don't kill them." Arrogant. Arrogant. Ningyu's words infuriated Chu Feng and Chu Yu. Ever since they descended from the higher planes, they had never met a worthy opponent due to their powerful cultivation and terrifying soul power. Originally, they wanted to meet up with the Five Finger Immortal in the Myriad Demon Ridge. But halfway there, they received news that the Five Finger Immortal's immortal pill had been stolen. Thus, the two of them volunteered to kill those rascals. As for the other three disciples, they continued to head to the Myriad Demon Ridge to find a way to meet up with the Five Finger Immortal. Swoosh! Chu Feng and Chu Yu obviously would not fight according to Ning Yu's arrangement. Both of them charged at the human demon, intending to kill him together. After all, in their hearts, Ning Yu was only an intermediate human immortal. How strong could he be? Therefore, their plan was to get rid of the human demon first, then deal with Ning Yu. However, while dreams were plentiful, reality was harsh. How could Ning Yu let the human demon deal with two of them at once? He hurriedly took out the red demon sword and slashed at Chu Yu. Swoosh! A terrifying sword gleam separated from the red demon sword and headed straight for Chu Yu. Even though Ning Yu was only an intermediate human immortal, the power of his sword radiance was enough to kill an early Earth immortal. Even though Chu Yu was an intermediate Earth immortal, he could not ignore the sword radiance that was powerful enough to kill an early Earth immortal. I'll go kill this guy first. Chu Yu's expression was cold as she said to Chu Feng, Haha, let's compete and see who can get rid of the opponent first. Chu Feng was not flustered by Ning Yu's terrifying strength. Instead, he threw his head back and laughed. Not only were they the disciples of the Five-Finger Immortal, but they were also well-deserved geniuses in their families. On the other hand, the Chu family was also a force that ruled over a region in the higher planes. Even though there were no heaven immortals in the family, there had been heaven immortals in the family a long time ago. The geniuses of the heaven immortal family practiced the real immortal arts and had a complete set of Taoist teachings. It was even rumored that Chu Feng and Chu Yu were qualified to be listed on the longevity roll in their own territories. Of course, that was not the case for now. Rumble. In an instant, Chu Feng and the human demon were engaged in a fierce battle. As soon as they clashed, Chu Feng noticed something wrong with the human demon. So you're injured? Chu Feng raised his eyebrows and said sinisterly, It seems like you're the same as us, also from high-level plane. Moreover, your strength isn't bad. If you hadn't met me, you might have been able to keep your life. But since you've met me, you can only blame your bad luck. The human demon's injuries were not new. They were left from a long time ago when he fought with a heaven immortal. If the human demon was not injured, even Ten Chu Feng would not be his match. Even though I'm injured, killing you is as easy as killing a dog. The human demon forced Chu Feng back and said coldly, Ha ha ha. As if he had heard the funniest joke in the world, Chu Feng threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then he changed the topic and said fiercely, I was going to let you live, but since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Feng stomped on the ground and dashed forward again. Swoosh! Chu Feng's speed was so fast that the friction between him and the air produced a sizzling sound. Although Chu Feng was only a mid-stage Earth immortal, his overall strength was comparable to that of a late-stage Earth immortal. It was said that when Chu Feng had just advanced to mid-stage Earth immortal, he had challenged a late-stage Earth immortal elder in the family. There was no suspense in the outcome. Chapter 1927. To be able to defeat a late-stage Earth immortal expert in one move. Even if that expert was not very talented, it was enough to show how terrifying Chu Feng was. Now that Chu Feng was fighting the human demon in his peak state, how could his combat power be weak? Rumble. The battle instantly escalated. Heaven imprisoning fist. The human demon clenched his right fist and charged at Chu Feng instead of retreating. Only the brave would win. Even though the human demon knew that Chu Feng was very strong, he was once a sky immortal expert, so his combat experience was many times greater than Chu Feng's. Therefore, even if Chu Feng was slightly stronger than him, he would not be able to defeat him in a short period of time, let alone kill him. While the human demon and Chu Feng were fighting fiercely, the battle between Ning Yu and Chu Yu had reached its climax. Chu Yu is the fourth disciple of the Five-Fingered Immortal. In terms of combat power, she was even stronger than Chu Feng. Ning Yu had just started fighting with Chu Yu, but he was already at an absolute disadvantage. If not for the fact that Ning Yu's body was full of Yuan Qi and his body was as strong as an Earth Immortal expert, he would have been killed by Chu Yu. Even so, Ning Yu could not fight Chu Yu head-on. He could only keep slashing out with his sword to restrain Chuyu. I can't go on like this, Ningyu thought to himself as he fought with Chuyu. Chuyu was strong, and her soul power was not weak either. If the battle continued like this, the one who would lose would definitely be Ningyu. Fight! Ningyu's eyes revealed a determined look. He poured all the Yuan Qi in his body into the red demon sword and slashed out with a backhand slash. Swoosh! Following the sword slash was the black bead. At this point, Ningyu finally decided to use the black bead. He would first use the sword slash to attract Chuyu's attention, then use the horrifying Yuan Qi in the black bead. Only by doing so could he kill Chuyu in one strike. Ningyu did not want to give Chuyu a chance to escape. Child's play. Chuyu's lips curled into a smile as she watched the sword slash coming at her. She waved her sleeve, and a strong wind swept out, colliding with the sword slash in front of her. Kacha! The sword light that Ningyu slashed out only lasted for a few seconds before shattering. Ha ha! Kid, you want to contend against me with just your strength? Sharpen your eyes in your next life. A person like me is someone you will never be able to. Seeing the sword light shatter, Chuyu threw his head back and laughed. However, Chuyu's laughter was only halfway through when it abruptly stopped, because he saw a black bead coming at him at an unbelievable speed. Moreover, from the black bead, he sensed an energy fluctuation that made his heart palpitate. Not good. At the critical moment, Chuyu shouted loudly. Then, she hurriedly mobilized the Yuan Qi in her body, trying to block the black pearl. All right. Ningyu, who was in the distance, clenched his fists tightly when he saw Chuyu's actions. If Chuyu chose to escape, he would become a joke if he used the black pearl to deal with Chuyu. After all, Chuyu is at the intermediate Earth immortal stage. Her speed of escaping was not slow at all. However, Chuyu chose to block the black pearl. In other words, she chose death. This was because the energy contained in the black pearl was the sum of the Yuan Qi in the Five Fingers Cauldron and the remaining medicinal efficacy of the Five Fingers Immortal Pill. With such a huge amount of energy, even an advanced Earth Immortal Stage expert would not be able to withstand it 100% of the time, let alone an intermediate Earth Immortal Stage expert. Human Devil, retreat. Ningyu did not let Chuyu's foolish action get to his head. Instead, he immediately informed the Human Devil to retreat. Ningyu didn't want to do something like sacrificing 800 men to kill 1,000 enemies. All right. In fact, the moment Ningyu threw out the black pearl, the Human Devil had already planned to retreat. The Human Devil was not stupid. He knew that the black pearl was the thing on Ningyu that made his heart palpitate. He did not want to bear the terrifying power of the black pearl. Chu Feng, save me. As the black pearl got closer and closer to him, Chuyu finally realized his foolish action. But it was too late for him to retreat now. He had no choice but to ask Chu Feng for help. Damn it! Chu Feng's pupils shrank. His entire being was filled with anger. Although he and Chuyu were not blood brothers, they were closer than blood brothers. Chuyu was in danger of being killed. How could he not be angry? But anger was one thing, but Chu Feng did not lose his mind. He knew that if he took the risk to save Chuyu now, he would most likely be severely injured. And if he did not save Chuyu, then Chuyu would most likely be killed. For a moment, he was faced with a dilemma. To save or not to save? This was the question. Boom! However, just when Chu Feng was considering whether or not to save Chuyu, Ningyu controlled the black pearl and self-destructed in the air. Crack! 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 The terrifying aftermath of the black pearl's explosion caused the surrounding void to explode. Countless spatial cracks appeared. Chuyu, who was at the center of the black pearl's explosion, could not even hold on for a second. She spat out a mouthful of blood. Her breath instantly dropped from the intermediate Earth Immortal Stage to the early Earth Immortal Stage. Moreover, Chuyu's aura continued to drop. Early Earth Immortal Stage, Peak Human Immortal Stage, Late Human Immortal Stage, Intermediate Human Immortal Stage. Not long after, Chuyu's breath dropped to the Intermediate Human Immortal Stage. I will make you pay with your lives. Chu Feng roared and rushed out until the aftermath of the Black Pearl's explosion weakened. But the direction Chu Feng rushed towards was not Ning Yu and the human demon, but Chu Yu. He wanted to save Chu Yu first, then deal with Ning Yu and the human demon. Boom! Unfortunately, Chu Feng had just rushed to Chu Yu's side when the Black Pearl exploded again. The aftermath of the extremely terrifying explosion blasted Chu Feng several feet away on the spot, and he fell heavily on the ground. Let's go together. This was the moment Ning Yu had been waiting for. The energy contained within the Black Pearl was far beyond Chu Feng and Chu Yu's imagination. The first half of the explosion could severely injure Chu Yu. The second half of the explosion could severely injure Chu Feng. Seeing that Chu Feng and Chu Yu were both injured by the Black Pearl's explosion, Ning Yu made a prompt decision to deal with these two troublemakers. Swoosh! Swoosh! He and the human demon rushed towards Chu Yu, one on the left and the other on the right. Damn it! Looking at the approaching Ning Yu, Chu Yu said coldly, "If you dare kill me, my master and my fellow disciples will definitely grind your bones to dust." Swoosh! Hearing Chu Yu's words, Ning Yu's eyes brightened. He instantly stopped in front of Chu Yu. "What, have you thought it through?" Seeing Ning Yu stop, Chu Yu raised an eyebrow and said coldly, "It's not too late for you to surrender now. I will inform my master, the Five Fingers Immortal, and have him personally refine one for you. Hold on, hold on. I haven't thought it through." Chapter 1928. You want to capture me alive? Hearing Ning Yu's indifferent words, Chu Yu's pupils shrank, and his face turned deathly pale. He was very clear. Once he fell into Ning Yu's hands, he would suffer a fate worse than death. You're smart. Ning Yu didn't give Chu Yu too much time to think. He leaped up and arrived beside Chu Yu in a flash. His right hand clenched into a fist and punched Chu Yu's chest. Bang! The huge force that came from his chest caused Chu Yu to fly like a kite with a broken string. His body flew straight out. Whoosh! After his attack succeeded, Ning Yu did not hesitate at all and immediately chased after him. Bang! Bang! Then several crisp sounds rang out. A few of Chu Yu's ribs were broken by the explosion. Seal her! Ning Yu's powerful soul power was unleashed, completely sealing Chu Yu. At this point, Chu Yu couldn't use any of her energy or soul power. It could be said that Chu Yu's life was in Ning Yu's hands. Not long after Ning Yu restrained Chu Yu, the human demon on the other side sent news of victory. The human demon didn't waste too much time dealing with the weakened Chu Feng. Grabbing Chu Feng's shoulder with his right hand, the human demon landed beside Ning Yu. What should we do with the two of them? The human demon casually threw Chu Feng in front of Ning Yu and frowned. They are the disciples of the Five-Fingered Immortal. I think we shouldn't kill them for now. I think the same. Ning Yu nodded. They can be spared from death, but they can't escape punishment. As he spoke, Ning Yu moved his feet and arrived in front of Chu Feng. He raised his left foot and stomped heavily on Chu Feng's head. Ning Yu coldly said, "Tell me, where are your other three brothers? You want to know where they are? Dream on." Although Ning Yu had stepped on his head, Chu Feng still said fiercely, "If you have the ability, you can kill me. My master and a few other brothers will definitely help me. As you wish." Before Chu Feng could finish his words, Ning Yu exerted force with his left foot and stomped down hard. Gotcha! Although Ning Yu did not use his Yuan Qi in this kick, he used his soul force. Under the pressure of the powerful soul power, Chu Feng's head was directly trampled into mush. Shio! Immediately after, a cold light suddenly shot out from Chu Feng's body and flew into the distance at an extremely terrifying speed. Primordial Spirit. The cold light that shot out of Chu Feng's body was none other than Chu Feng's primordial spirit. The reason why Ning Yu chose to crush Chu Feng's head was not because he thought it was useless to keep Chu Feng alive, but because he realized that Chu Feng was trying to escape. After all, the strength of Chu Feng's soul force had reached the 3rd grade of the Emperor rank. If he used his soul force to escape, it would be difficult for Ning Yu to control him. Under such circumstances, Ningyu naturally chose to strike first to gain the upper hand. Where do you think you're going? Since Ningyu had crushed Chu Feng's head, he was prepared to completely destroy his primordial spirit. Moreover, Chu Feng's primordial spirit was not the only one fleeing. His terrifying soul force and Yuan Qi were also attached to his primordial spirit, wanting to escape together. Devour. Ningyu's speed was not inferior to Chu Feng's. He quickly caught up to Chu Feng and circulated the spiritual transformation art to the extreme. He began to frantically devour the Yuan Qi and soul force attached to Chu Feng's primordial spirit. Qi. After cultivating the spiritual transformation art to the 10th level, the speed at which Ningyu devoured Yuan Qi and soul force had clearly increased by several times. It only took Ningyu a few seconds to completely devour the vigorous Yuan Qi and soul force on Chu Feng's primordial spirit. Phew! After devouring the soul force and soul force on Chu Feng's primordial spirit, Ningyu couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Previously, in order to quickly advance to the intermediate human immortal stage, his foundation was a little unstable. Now that he had devoured Chu Feng, he instantly felt that his cultivation had completely stabilized. In fact, his combat power had been greatly improved. Although he still couldn't kill an intermediate Earth immortal stage warrior, it wasn't too big of a problem to resist a little. I'll leave Chu Feng's primordial spirit to the Red Devil. Ningyu held the Red Devil sword in his hand and slashed, piercing through Chu Feng's primordial spirit. Moreover, a terrifying suction force shot out from the Red Devil sword, sucking Chu Feng's primordial spirit into the sword. Swoosh! After doing all this, Ningyu leaped up and arrived in front of Chu Yu. I'll ask you a few questions now. If you can answer me honestly, I can choose to spare your life. If you insist on going about things the wrong way, I can only... Ningyu shrugged and said to Chu Yu, "There's no need. If you want to kill me, do as you please." Chu Yu seemed to have made up his mind. He said coldly, "Even if you kill me, you won't be able to escape the pursuit of my master, the five-fingered immortal, seeking death wholeheartedly." Interesting. Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Chu Yu with interest. Even ants were greedy for life, let alone a powerful warrior like Chu Yu. Ningyu didn't believe that Chu Yu would seek death. In Ningyu's opinion, there must be something fishy about this. I know. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have discovered something frightening. His expression turned extremely ugly. What's going on? The human demon asked doubtfully when he saw Ningyu's expression. After taking a deep breath, Ningyu said, "If I'm not wrong, this body of Chu Yu's is not his main body. In other words, this is Chu Yu's clone." Hiss. After hearing Ningyu's explanation, the human demon hurriedly unleashed his perception and looked at Chu Yu. The humanoid demon sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw what it was. No wonder Chu Yu is so fearless. It turned out that this body of his wasn't his main body, but a clone. Could it be that Chu Feng's is also a clone? The human demon asked. Shaking his head, Ningyu said, "Chu Feng's isn't a clone, but his main body. You can actually see that it's a clone." The conversation between Ningyu and the human demon fell into Chu Yu's ears. He revealed a terrified expression, his face full of incredulity. One had to know that even in the Chu family of the higher planes, there were no more than 5 people who knew that he had a clone. Even Chu Feng didn't know that this was a clone of himself. Now that Ningyu had seen through his clone, how could he not be surprised? However, although he was shocked, Chu was still very calm. The corners of his lips curled up, and he said sinisterly, "To tell you the truth, my main body has also descended to the celestial spirit realm. You killing one of my clones won't affect me at all." "Oh, it won't affect you at all?" Ningyu raised his brows and said indifferently, "Although the myriad transformations art is heaven-defying, it's not without its flaws." You. Chu Yu's pupils constricted and his face turned deathly pale. Chapter 1929. It's not too late for you to regret it now. Answer a few of my questions honestly, and I can guarantee to spare your wretched life." Ningyu crossed his arms and looked at Chu Yu as he spoke indifferently. Actually, Ningyu already knew about the myriad embodiment technique and had even cultivated it before. The myriad embodiment technique that Ningyu had grasped was obtained from a genius of the pill puppet race. However, he had not cultivated it recently. Although Chu Yu had hidden it rather well, Ningyu had discovered that he had cultivated the myriad embodiment technique before. Furthermore, he had already successfully cultivated the first half of it, allowing him to have thousands of clones. The myriad embodiment technique had a total of 3 parts. The pill puppet race genius that Ningyu had encountered previously had only grasped the first half. If Xiaoqin's guess was right, Chu Yu should have the cultivation method for the middle half. Hence, before obtaining the middle half of the myriad embodiment technique, Ningyu could not possibly kill Chu Yu. After all, the myriad embodiment technique was very likely to be a martial technique that surpassed the sage tier. Chu Yu's expression turned gloomy when he heard Ningyu's words. He clenched his fists tightly, as if he was having an intense internal struggle. Honestly speaking, if Ningyu did not know about the myriad embodiment technique, he would definitely not be as conflicted as he was now. This was because to him, who had cultivated the boundless embodiment transformation technique and had cultivated it to the middle section, losing a clone was not a big deal. However, since Ningyu knew about the myriad embodiment technique, it was very likely that he had a way to deal with his main body. Losing a clone was nothing, but if the main body was injured, the impact on him would be irreversible. While Chu Yu was thinking, Ningyu did not disturb him. Instead, he went to the human demon side and took out Chu Feng's primordial spirit from the red demon sword. Originally, Ningyu had intended to let the human demon devour Chu Feng's primordial spirit. After all, the human demon was very experienced in devouring primordial spirits and had already devoured the primordial spirits of several experts. If there were no surprises, if the human demon devoured Chu Feng's primordial spirit, there was a high chance that he would become a true human immortal. However, the human demon had just experienced a huge battle, so he was not in his peak condition. If an expert were to invade at this time, wouldn't they suffer a calamity? Therefore, handing over Chu Feng's primordial spirit to the human demon was the best choice. Be careful of Chu Yu. Remember not to fall into his trap. The human demon didn't argue with Ningyu. He took the spirit and swallowed it. Then, he warned, "Also, you'd better find a place to undergo your tribulation. You can't suppress it for too long. Otherwise, if a large amount of it accumulates, no matter how strong your body is, you won't be able to resist it." "I got it. You should rest and recuperate first. I know what to do." Ningyu waved his hand, signaling the human demon not to worry. He knew the condition of his body better than anyone else. The moment he left the 5-finger pill furnace, the lightning tribulation in the void immediately found him. Fortunately, he had used his soul strength and yuan qi to deceive the heavens. Otherwise, the tribulation clouds would have descended long ago. Anyway, be careful. If anything happens, inform me immediately. The human devil exhorted again before leaping into the 5-finger cauldron. "Ask away. As long as it's not something I can't say, I will definitely tell you." As soon as the human demon entered the 5-finger pill furnace, Chu took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "If it involves secrets, even I can't do anything. Why did you come to the immortal spirit realm with such great fanfare?" Ningyu shrugged, not beating around the bush and asking directly. Actually, Ningyu knew what Chu Yu meant. After all, some large sects and families were very strict when it came to secrets. Many chose to leave a seal in their disciples' sea of consciousness. If anyone dared to pry into the secrets, the large sects would even detonate the seal. In other words, Chu Yu knew the secrets, but he couldn't say it. Because if he did, the seal in his head would be activated and he would disappear. Naturally, it's for the source energy. Chu Yu answered honestly. The plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm has already loosened greatly. I believe that after a period of time, the plane barrier will completely collapse. At that time, as long as one's cultivation is below the sky immortal level, they will be able to pass through without fear. Swoosh! Hearing this, Ning Yu's face darkened. The strongest cultivator in the immortal spirit realm was only at the sage realm. Even if the plane barrier loosened and many people could break through to the immortal realm, they were still very weak compared to the experts of the higher planes. Not to mention the sky immortal. Even an earth immortal would be able to dominate the entire immortal spirit realm. As the saying went, how could one allow others to sleep soundly beside one's bed? The experts that descended from the higher planes didn't care about anything. To them, as long as there was a fortuitous encounter, they would fight for it with everything they had. At that time, the immortal spirit realm would be in danger of being wiped out. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu tried his best to calm himself down. It was still too early to think about such things. The most important thing now was to solve the problem in front of him. The Five Fingers Immortal and his disciples. Ning Yu looked at Chu Yu and asked again, "Where are your master, the Five Fingers Immortal, and your other 3 disciples?" "The myriad Demon Ridge," Chu Yu replied. "How are their cultivation levels?" Ning Yu continued, "My master, the Five Fingers Immortal, is a heaven immortal expert. In order to obtain the source energy, he sealed his own cultivation and reached the immortal spirit stage a long time ago." Chu Yu was like a very obedient person as she answered Ning Yu's questions honestly. Third senior brother, Guiyong, is a late earth immortal, and his soul force is around grade 4 emperor level. Second senior brother, Lu Jiqing, is a peak earth immortal, and his soul force is around grade 6 emperor level. Eldest senior brother, Chun Xian, is a perfected earthly immortal, or in other words, a half-step heaven immortal. Rumor has it that the strength of his soul has reached the peak of the monarch rank, and he's only a step away from the true saint rank. After hearing Chu Yu's answer, Ning Yu's heart sank to the bottom. Although he knew from Mo Qinya that the Five Fingers Immortal's disciples were abnormal, he didn't expect them to be this abnormal. With his current overall strength, he could fight against a mid-stage Earth Immortal, but if he met a late-stage Earth Immortal, he would be dead. He had taken the Five Fingers Immortal's elixir and cauldron. Under such circumstances, if they met again, it would only be a fight to the death. With a gloomy expression, Ning Yu looked at Chu Yu and said in a deep voice, "Do you know about the Transformation Sect? I heard that a divine son of the Transformation Sect has also come to the immortal spirit realm." The Transformation Sect's divine son. Chu Yu's expression changed drastically. She was shocked to the extreme. Chu Yu's reaction was clearly out of Ning Yu's expectation. According to his understanding, the God Transformation Sect could only be regarded as a small sect in a high-level world. Even the sect master of the sect was only at the late Earth Immortal stage. Chapter 1930. I didn't expect the divine son of the Transformation God sect to appear, and he's even at the celestial spirit state. Chu Yu's expression was gloomy, as if she was thinking about how to spread this shocking news. The Transformation God sect might be a second-rate or even third-rate sect in a high-level plane, but the divine son of the Transformation God sect wasn't simple. There were rumors that the divine son of the Transformation God sect was the reincarnation of a heaven immortal, and there were also rumors that he was the reincarnation of an even more powerful expert. Of course, many people despised this rumor. They all thought that the God Transformation sect was the one who spread the rumor and wanted to make themselves look good. However, Chu Yu knew very well that the divine son of the Transformation God sect really existed. And the most crucial point was that the divine son wasn't the reincarnation of an early-stage heaven immortal, but a mid-stage heaven immortal patriarch. An early-stage heaven immortal could already dominate a territory, let alone a mid-stage heaven immortal. Although the divine son of the God Transformation sect was only a middle-stage fairy immortal, his combat strength was still terrifying. I advise you not to provoke the Transformation God sect. Chu Yu returned to normal after a while and warned, the divine son of the Transformation God sect is extremely terrifying. In the celestial spirit state, even my master, the five-fingered immortal, wouldn't dare to say that he wouldn't lose. That terrifying? Ningyu was surprised. He thought that the divine son of the transformation god sect couldn't be that powerful. At best, he was just an earth immortal realm martial artist. Now, that Chuyu said this, he had to take it seriously. The five-fingered immortal was enough to give him a headache. Now, there was another divine son of the transformation god sect who was no weaker than the five-fingered immortal. Could he still reach the myriad demon's ridge safely? Thinking of this, Ningyu rolled his eyes and looked at Chuyu. Chuyu immediately hugged herself and felt goosebumps when she was stared at by Ningyu. Hand over the middle section of the great art of freedom transformation. Ningyu stretched out his right hand and said indifferently, "Don't try to play tricks with me. Since I know the great art of freedom transformation, I definitely know that what you gave me is not real. I don't have the middle part of the 10,000 freedom transformations." Chuyu's eyes flickered, but in the end, he still gritted his teeth and said, "I only successfully cultivated the first half of the infinite freedom transformation technique. Otherwise, I would definitely abandon this clone." Not talking, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Very well, I have a way to deal with people like you." Ning rode. Then, Ningyu contacted Ning Lu, who was in the five-finger pill furnace. Ning Lu was the manifestation of the world tree, so it couldn't be better for him to devour Chuyu. Even though the Chuyu in front of him was only a clone, his cultivation was a genuine intermediate earthly immortal. Ningyu knew his own strength very well. It wasn't that he couldn't devour Chuyu, he just couldn't devour Chuyu's memories together. Obtaining the middle part of the myriad free transformations technique from Chuyu was the most important thing right now. The reason for that was because their enemies were not only the five-fingered immortal, but they were also the mysterious and unfathomable god transformation sect's godchild. Whoosh! After receiving Ning Yu's order, Ning Lu instantly swept out of the five-finger pill furnace. Slap! Ning Lu didn't stand on ceremony with Chuyu. He landed in front of Chuyu, stretched out his right hand, and slapped Chuyu's head. Ah! Along with Chuyu's scream, a dark golden branch drilled out of Ning Lu's palm. Obviously, this dark golden branch was Ning Lu's natal branch. In order to devour Chuyu as soon as possible, Ning Lu used his trump card right from the start. Under Ning Lu's terrifying devouring speed, Chuyu immediately spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. Her entire face turned from blood red to pale white. Found it. After devouring for a few seconds, Ning Lu found the middle part of the myriad free transformations technique in Chuyu's memory. Ning Lu didn't hesitate. He devoured Chuyu's memory while passing the middle part of the myriad free transformations technique to Ningyu. 10 seconds later, all the information about the myriad free transformations technique in Chuyu's memory was completely devoured by Ning Lu. What? There's more in the five-finger cauldron. Oh no! After devouring the memory about the myriad free transformations technique, Ning Lu continued to devour, wanting to understand other things. However, just as Ning Lu was about to continue devouring, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. Rumble! When Ning Lu retreated to Ning Yu's side, Chuyu's doppelganger suddenly exploded. The terrifying shockwave sent Ning Yu and Ning Lu flying dozens of feet away. They crashed heavily into a towering tree. Crack! The huge tree, which was as thick as a person's waist, was broken on the spot. Ning Yu and Ning Lu both spat out a mouthful of blood. What's going on? After the explosion, Ning Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and asked in a low voice, "What else is in the five-fingered cauldron?" Ning Lu did not immediately answer Ning Yu's question. Instead, he tried hard to recall, then wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "I didn't find out the specifics. I only saw in Chuyu's blurry memory that there was something else in the five-fingered cauldron. It should be related to the five-fingered immortal." Related to the five-fingered immortal. Related to the five-fingered immortal, Ning Yu's expression was solemn. In fact, he always felt that it was a bit unrealistic to seize control of the five-fingered immortal cauldron so easily. After all, the five-fingered immortal was a sky immortal, and he was also a saint-level alchemist. It was impossible for someone of this level to do anything without planning. Do I have to abandon the five-fingered immortal cauldron? Seeing that Ning Yu was deep in thought, Ning Lu said, "The five-fingered immortal cauldron is an alchemy cauldron on the immortal ranking list. It is a saint-level Dharma treasure. It would be a pity to abandon it." "I definitely can't abandon it." Ning Yu shook his head, indicating that he could not abandon the five-fingered immortal cauldron. Right now, the only saint-level Dharma treasure he had was the red demon sword. However, the red demon sword and the five-fingered immortal cauldron were countless times weaker. It could be said that if the red demon sword clashed head-on with the five-fingered immortal cauldron, the red demon sword would definitely lose. Yuzun Pagoda. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly took out the Yuzuan Pagoda. Although Ningyu had not paid much attention to the Yuzuan Pagoda, it was undeniably the most mysterious Dharma treasure he had. Before the battle in the Moling Mountains, the Yuzuan Pagoda did not belong to him, but to the mysterious expert inside. When the mysterious expert left, he gave him 3 drops of true dragon blood and told him to take good care of the golden-haired girl. He even said that the golden-haired girl had a terrifying background. In other words, the Yuzuan Pagoda was very likely the mysterious expert's Dharma treasure. Even though Ning Yu had advanced to the mid-stage human immortal stage, he could not determine the mysterious expert's true cultivation. Throw the five-fingered immortal cauldron into the Yuzuan Pagoda. Now you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.